Transmigrated into a villain. At the start, I was secretly loved by the protagonist's mother. Wang Zhenxing transmigrated into a world made up of various urban romance novels, becoming a handsome, wealthy, and eligible bachelor. At the start, the protagonist's beautiful mother secretly had a crush on him. However, according to the plot, he was actually a disposable side character with no real abilities. Chapter 1: I don't want to be a side character, I want to be the villain. A Bentley drove into an ordinary residential community. Most of the residents in the neighborhood were average people, so the sudden arrival of a Bentley seemed out of place. However, the security guard at the entrance didn't dare to stop such a car. He didn't even care whether the person was a resident or not, he just opened the gate and let the car pass. "Boss, we've arrived." The middle-aged male driver parked the car and cautiously reminded the man in the back seat. The man in the back slowly opened his eyes, his expression dark. His name was Wang Zhenxing, and he was a transmigrator. His current identity was the owner of a billion-dollar company, and he was 36 years old. In terms of looks, he was flawless. His body was also well maintained, and he could easily play the role of a handsome older man in an idol drama. With exceptional looks and immense wealth, he was the dream man of many women in Qingling City. By all rights, given his circumstances as a transmigrator, he should have been very satisfied. And at first, Wang Zhenxing was indeed quite content. But he soon discovered a problem: his performance was lacking in a certain area. Moreover, he had transmigrated with a system. The system told him he was actually a side character in the protagonist's camp. His sole purpose was to serve the protagonist, creating conditions for the protagonist to show off and slap faces. His fate in the story was to be killed by a villain after the protagonist got into trouble with a girl. The villain couldn't find the protagonist and ended up killing Wang Zhenxing, who was close to the protagonist. After learning this, it was hard for him to stay in a good mood. The only comforting thing was that the plot hadn't fully started yet. The protagonist was still in the mountains learning skills and hadn't come down yet. At the moment, Wang Zhenxing's role was to take care of the protagonist's young mother and prevent her from being bullied by the villain. Wang Zhenxing had come to the neighborhood to visit the protagonist's mother. According to the plot, he had been taking care of her for a year. The protagonist's mother had lost her husband early, and both emotionally and physically, she was deeply lacking. Wang Zhenxing's good qualities and his care naturally attracted the protagonist's mother. But Wang Zhenxing understood that, according to the original plot, he was meant to become the protagonist's stepfather. Otherwise, the damned author wouldn't have given him the performance issue setting. "Boss, aren't you going upstairs? Do you want me to bring your things up?" After a brief silence in the car, the driver asked again. "What's the point of taking care of the protagonist's mother? I haven't gotten any benefits, and later, I'll get killed just because the protagonist is chasing after women. Damn it." Wang Zhenxing cursed inwardly. Just then, a text panel appeared in his mind. The novel's plot has not officially started yet. The host may make a choice. Option 1: follow the original plot, take good care of the protagonist's mother, serve as a tool to enhance the protagonist's image, and then meet a tragic end. Reward: a grand funeral, and the protagonist personally carves Good Samaritan on the host's tombstone. Option 2: to hell with the plot. I don't want to be the protagonist's tool. I'll become the villain and kill the protagonist. Reward: restoring abilities in that area, and obtaining the villain aura. Note: the villain aura is naturally opposed to the protagonist aura, and will attract the protagonist's hatred. Option 2 has certain risks, so please choose carefully. Once the choice is made, it cannot be changed. Wang Zhenxing paused for a moment, then, upon understanding the situation, he couldn't contain his excitement. The damned system had this function. Why didn't he mention it earlier? After it had spoiled his ending a few days ago, leaving him with no clue what to do, he hadn't been able to eat or sleep well. I choose the second one. The second one. Wang Zhenxing eagerly communicated with the system, making his choice without hesitation. Sure, it was risky, but at least it could restore his abilities. Otherwise, as a man, especially one who was handsome, rich, and had access to so many beautiful women, being able to see and not touch was worse than death. The host has made a choice, restoring abilities in that area and obtaining the villain aura. After getting the confirmation, Wang Zhenxing was still a bit uneasy, so he pulled out his phone and opened a video app, scrolling through a few short dance videos of beautiful women. He quickly felt a noticeable improvement. Sure enough, it worked. He put his phone away, feeling relieved, and began thinking about the current situation. According to the system, he now had the villain aura, which would naturally attract the protagonist's hatred. But to get the protagonist to make a move on him, he needed a solid reason. After all, he had taken care of the protagonist's mother for so long. The protagonist couldn't just turn on him without cause, right? The plot hadn't truly started yet, and the protagonist hadn't made his appearance. The protagonist's mother was his shield. He would secure that shield first. Wang Zhenxing grabbed a few things and walked into a residential building. Ding dong. Standing outside a door, he pressed the doorbell a few times and waited. Soon, someone came to open the door. A woman, dressed in home clothes, with a gentle and alluring appearance, appeared before him. This woman was the protagonist's mother, named Xu Yiru, 37 years old, just 1 year older than Wang Zhenxing. Despite her age, Xu Yiru's skin was smooth and flawless, with no visible signs of aging. If she were said to be in her 20s, no one would doubt it. However, she had a mature elegance that younger women didn't possess. Perhaps it was because she was a mother. In the plot, the protagonist was a handsome guy, and Xu Yiru's genes played a big role in that. Zhenxing, you're here. Come in and sit down. Xu Yiru opened the door with a smile, inviting Wang Zhenxing inside. Her eyes, as enchanting as water, and her mature voice, which carried a charm that younger women lacked, made him pause. Wang Zhenxing's heart stirred. Although people often say men love young girls, Xu Yiru's looks and figure were no less than that of an 18-year-old. As he entered and sat down on the sofa, Wang Zhenxing's gaze didn't leave Xu Yiru. Xu Yiru brought over tea, and sensing Wang Zhenxing's gaze, she felt something was different but couldn't pinpoint exactly what. However, Wang Zhenxing's attention made her secretly pleased. He had never looked at her like this before. Is there something on my face? Xu Yiru asked with a playful smile. No, it's just that you seem different from before, Wang Zhenxing replied leisurely after taking a sip of tea. How so? Xu Yiru asked curiously. You're even more beautiful than usual, Wang Zhenxing said sincerely. I'm so old, how could I still be considered beautiful? Xu Yiru's eyes flashed with a trace of uncertainty, and she gave a self-deprecating smile. In fact, she had deliberately put on light makeup after talking to Wang Zhenxing on the phone yesterday, knowing he would come today. But the makeup was so subtle that it wasn't obvious. She hadn't expected Wang Zhenxing to notice. However, Xu Yiru wasn't a young girl. She remained calm even when feeling a little shy. Her emotional control was exceptional. If it had been a younger woman, she might have blushed and been embarrassed by now. Chapter 2, The future is long, but I must take my leave. In response to Xu Yiru's remark, Wang Zhenxing just smiled. It was true that Xu Yiru was in her 30s, but every woman would look in the mirror at some point. Wang Zhenxing didn't believe that this woman couldn't see how beautiful she was. He took another sip of tea, not lingering on the subject, and got up to take care of some tasks around the house. He started with changing light bulbs, fixing faucets, and unclogging drains. Xu Yiru is a kind woman. If I take good care of her, maybe even if I end up in a conflict with her son in the future, she'll still stand by me a little, right? Wang Zhenxing thought to himself as he worked. After about half an hour, he was finally done. Though he was now a company CEO, he had started from scratch and had done all kinds of dirty and tiring jobs in the past. Changing light bulbs was no problem at all. Xu Yiru had been following him around, handing him tools and watching him. There was no denying that a man who worked hard was very attractive. Especially when Wang Zhenxing, despite being a big boss, wasn't he above doing some tough manual labor. Xu Yiru watched all of this, deeply moved. Important character Xu Yiru's affection towards host +5, current total affection, 55 infatuated, congratulations to their host for receiving 100 revenge points. The hostess attribute panel is now unlocked. You can check it at any time. While washing his hands, Wang Zhenxing suddenly heard a voice in his mind, a cute girl's voice. He wasn't unfamiliar with this voice, it belonged to the system. After briefly communicating with the system, Wang Zhenxing opened his attribute panel. Host, Wang Zhenxing. Fortune value, 36 note, a regular person's fortune value is 50. Villain aura, 166. Revenge points, 100. Combat power, 86 note, a normal adult male's combat power is 50. Charm, 93 note, a normal adult male's charm is 50. Special skills, none. Looking over the panel, Wang Zhenxing couldn't help but feel frustrated about his fortune value. Normal people have 50 fortune points, but I only have 36. He grumbled to himself. No wonder I was the cannon fodder in the original story. The main character usually had high fortune points. How could he possibly defeat the protagonist? Host need not be disheartened. By suppressing the protagonist, altering the storyline, or stealing the protagonist's belongings or people, you can absorb their fortune points and convert them into your own. Now that makes sense. Wang Zhenxing nodded, then asked the system. What else does the villain aura do besides attracting the protagonist's hatred? The villain aura has a suppressive and deterrent effect on both the protagonist and other villain characters. If their hostess villain aura is high enough, it can even force the protagonist and other villains to submit. The larger the difference in villain aura, the more apparent the suppression and deterrence. However, if the villain aura is low, the host may be suppressed by the protagonist or other villains. Acting maliciously can increase the villain aura, so please work hard, host. However, a warning: if your villain aura is too low, doing too much evil may result in consequences, including being struck by lightning. So, if I don't want to be cannon fodder, I'll have to do some bad things, but since I'm becoming a villain, I might as well embrace it. Wang Zhenxing quickly figured out what to do next, and then asked. And what about revenge points? Points can be exchanged for various abilities and items in the system store. As long as you have enough points, you can even get abilities that only the protagonist has. So, what can I get for 100 points? Wang Zhenxing eagerly asked. Unfortunately, you can't exchange anything with 100 points. The cheapest item in the store costs 1000 points. After inquiring, Wang Zhenxing had a better understanding of the system's mechanics. After washing his hands, Wang Zhenxing turned off the faucet. Xu Yiru handed him a towel to dry his hands. As he wiped them, he instinctively smelled the towel. It had a subtle fragrance that smelled particularly pleasant. Where should I hang it? Wang Zhenxing asked, raising the towel. Give it to me, Xu Yiru replied, taking the towel from him. As she noticed his face, she added, you have something on the left side of your face. Really? Wang Zhenxing wiped his left cheek, but it seemed like he couldn't get it all off. Let me help you. Xu Yiru gently took the towel from his hand and wiped his face. It was a small smudge of dust from when he was changing light bulbs. Xu Yiru's movements were gentle as she wiped away the dirt, her gaze lingering on his face without her realizing it. After staring for a while, she quickly looked away, sensing it was a bit inappropriate. You've worked hard today, thank you, Xu Yiru said, washing the towel and hanging it outside. You're too kind. We're old friends, after all. But if I'm ever in trouble, you have to help me out. Wang Zhenxing was testing her, considering the possibility of future conflicts with her son. But you're the big boss. What trouble could you have? Xu Yiru smiled. Life is unpredictable. You never know. I'm just a woman, I can't help with big things. But if you really need my help, I will go through fire and water for you. You flatter me, Wang Zhenxing said, smiling at her sincerity. It was nearly dinner time, and Xu Yiru invited Wang Zhenxing to stay for dinner. Wang Zhenxing agreed immediately, hoping to foster more of a connection with her. Xu Yiru was a little taken aback. Normally, when she invited him for dinner, he always turned it down, citing work or other commitments. This time, however, he agreed without hesitation. Overjoyed, Xu Yiru quickly left to buy more groceries from the nearby market. When she returned, she put on an apron and started cooking. Wang Zhenxing occasionally peeked into the kitchen. Even though he hadn't tasted her cooking yet, just watching Xu Yiru prepare the food was a beautiful sight. When the meal was ready, Wang Zhenxing tried it and was pleasantly surprised by how delicious it was. She was indeed the mother of the protagonist. Her cooking skills were impeccable, and every attribute of a perfect wife and mother was present. Wang Zhenxing ate several large bowls of rice. After dinner, they chatted for a while. I didn't realize it was so late, Xu Yiru remarked, glancing out the window as it had already grown dark. As a woman living alone, having a man in her house at night could lead to gossip. She tried to maintain her composure, even though she was obviously attracted to him. Her words carried a hint of an unspoken message. Wang Zhenxing immediately understood and felt a bit disappointed. After all, Xu Yiru seemed to be keeping her distance. If things turned sour with her son in the future, could she really be trusted? Xu Yuru has subtly given the host the hint to leave. Please make your choice. Option 1, ignore the hint and stay, attempting to make a move. Success rate 100%, but Xu Yuru's affection drops to 0 afterward. Warning, this option will increase the villainous act beyond the villain aura limit, risking severe consequences. Option 2, leave immediately. Xu Yuru's affection +2. Reward, perfect body. Wang Zhenxing hoped to keep Xu Yuru as a protective talisman, so he chose the second option without hesitation. I just remembered, I have a meeting tonight. I need to go to the office. He stood up to leave. Xu Yuru reluctantly walked him to the door and watched as he disappeared around the corner. After a while, Xu Yuru's gaze left the door. The house fell silent again. She cleaned the table, washed the dishes, and sat down to watch TV, feeling a sense of boredom. Living alone was truly dull. There was no one to talk to. With a sigh, Xu Yuru finished her bath and went to bed, but she couldn't fall asleep, tossing and turning for hours. Chapter 3, Plans and Schemes. Night. After taking a shower, Wang Zhenxing stood before the full-length mirror, admiring his perfect physique for a while. Although he was already 36 years old, his appearance and physique were still top-notch, rivaling that of a man in his 20s. Thanks to his transformation into a perfect physique, his charm value had increased from 93 to 113 in the attributes panel, a 20-point increase. For reference, a charm value of 95 is considered extremely handsome, so 113 was a remarkable score with significant worth. Lying on the large bed, Wang Zhenxing mentally organized some of the plot details. Xu Yuru's son was named Qin Yi, who was the protagonist. Over a year ago, Qin Yi left Qingling City because of a conflict with a super-rich second-generation antagonist in the city. This rich young man sent people to deal with Qin Yi. Like a stray dog, Qin Yi fled from Qingling City. With the protagonist Halo on his side, Qin Yi managed to meet a powerful figure and went to Kunlun Mountain to learn martial arts. Xu Yuru, as Qin Yi's mother, also got involved. She had once owned a small clothing company, which, although not large, earned about $1 million a year. However, due to Qin Yi offending that rich second generation, her business was suppressed and eventually collapsed. Even so, the rich young man wasn't satisfied and continued to trouble Xu Yuru, throwing paint or even feces at her door for a couple of months. It wasn't until Wang Zhenxing stepped in that the issue was somewhat resolved. Somewhat resolved because Wang Zhenxing's company had a market value of 10 billion, whereas the rich young man's family was worth hundreds of billions. The gap between them was enormous. If the rich young man was determined to get revenge, Wang Zhenxing would not be able to stop him. The main reason Xu Yuru had been safe for over a year was because she, as the mother of the protagonist, enjoyed the protection of the protagonist Halo. Of course, Xu Yuru didn't know any of this. She believed that the rich second generation stopped harassing her because of Wang Zhenxing's intervention. The reason Xu Yuru was emotionally moved wasn't just because of Wang Zhenxing's excellence, but also out of gratitude. However, this protective charm wasn't very strong. Before the protagonist Qin Yi officially appears, I must establish a stronger relationship with Xu Yuru, preferably stronger than the one she has with Qin Yi. Wang Zhenxing thought carefully. Getting a mother to prioritize her man over her son wasn't easy, but it wasn't impossible either. History provided examples, like how Empress Dowager Qin favored Lao Ari and eventually even turned against her son. Wang Zhenxing's physical condition was certainly no worse than Lao Ari's. But how should I do this? Wang Zhenxing pondered. If he kept interacting with Xu Yuru as he had been, he was almost certain that once Qin Yi appeared, Xu Yuru's affection for him would likely be locked at the infatuated level. Beyond that, there would be little hope of progression. And after Qin Yi appeared, it would only become more difficult to strengthen his relationship with Xu Yuru. If he wanted to quickly escalate their relationship, he needed to come up with a plan. After thinking for a while, Wang Zhenxing came up with an idea. 2 days passed in a flash. Xu Yuru ran a small fruit shop near the residential area. The shop didn't make much, but it was enough to cover her living expenses. Today, as usual, Xu Yuru was tending to her fruit shop. A young couple entered to buy some fruit. Once they finished purchasing, Xu Yuru weighed their items and said, "The total is 335.53, but let us round it down to 330. Wow, so expensive." "Over 300, the young woman exclaimed. Xu Yuru smiled. "The fruits here are already cheaper than the market price. I'm not scamming you. If you don't believe me, you can check other shops. Xu Yuru was an honest businesswoman and never tried to deceive her customers. No need to check other shops. I've bought fruits before, and in other stores. This would probably cost over 400, the young man replied, then turned to his partner. Silly, it's only a little over 300. If you like them, I'll buy as much as you want. Sweetheart, you're the best. The woman smiled and kissed him on the cheek. Why are you doing this in public? The man laughed but teased her. What's wrong? We're getting married soon. Are you still worried about what others think? The woman replied. True, true. Then I'll kiss you too. The man turned his head. The woman rolled her eyes but still leaned in to kiss him on the other cheek. Still not enough. The man pouted. You're impossible. The woman laughed, but once again kissed him. Xu Yuru stood awkwardly beside them. After a full minute, the couple finally let go. The man paid via QR code, took the fruits, and walked out happily with his partner. Such a happy couple. Xu Yuru watched them with envy in her eyes. As a woman, and a beautiful one at that, she had been single for many years. Deep inside, she longed for a companion like that, someone to share her life with, instead of just spending her days in the fruit shop and nights alone in her empty bed. She had been living this way for over 10 years now, and instead of getting used to it, it had become more and more unbearable. Fortunately, it was still daylight. If it were evening, Xu Yuru would have closed up the shop and returned home to console herself in her bedroom. There was no choice. If she didn't do something to adjust, she'd really go crazy. Xu Yuru had thought about finding a partner and even had someone in mind. That person was Wang Zhenxing. But she was concerned about her son Qingyi's feelings. When Qingyi was young, he was very resistant to Xu Yuru finding a new husband. Even though Qingyi had been missing for a long time, what if he returned one day? Because she cared about her son's feelings, Xu Yuru had tried to suppress her own desires. Xu Yuru was lost in thought when a few more customers entered the shop. These people were dressed rather flashy and didn't seem like upstanding citizens. Xu Yuru grew a bit worried. After a while, they picked out their fruits but then deliberately started causing trouble, claiming they had bought rotten fruits and demanding compensation. Xu Yuru cleaned out the bad fruits in the shop every day, so she knew the issue wasn't on her end. She refused to pay. The group of young people was displeased and began smashing the fruit in the shop, ruining everything. Xu Yuru was so angry that she nearly fainted. Hey, what are you doing? A voice suddenly shouted from the door. It was Wang Zhenxing. Chapter 4, Xu Yuru loses her job. A few young people, seeing the situation, casually smashed the fruit stands in the shop once more before quickly running away. Looking at the mess in the store, Xu Yuru was so angry that she cried. Host successfully caused trouble, secretly instructing people to destroy Xu Yuru's fruit shop, earning 20 villain Halo points. Upon receiving the system notification, Wang Zhenxing quietly smiled. Yes, those young people who smashed the fruit shop were hired by him. In fact, the couple who had been showing off their affection in front of Xu Yuru earlier were also actors he had hired. Xu Yuru had been running the fruit shop for almost a year and had developed a strong emotional attachment to it. Seeing the store destroyed, she was both angry and aggrieved. Wang Zhenxing looked at the fruits scattered around the store and expressed his sympathy, asking about the situation before saying, "These people must have come here deliberately to cause trouble. Have you offended anyone recently?" "No." Xu Yuru answered firmly. "Then it must be an old grudge," Wang Zhenxing suggested, putting the blame on someone else. "Probably," Xu Yuru nodded, agreeing with his explanation. After all, it was hard to imagine anyone would randomly cause trouble for no reason. It was likely related to her son, Qingyi, and the rich second-generation antagonist he had offended in the past. Once she had identified the person behind it, Xu Yuru no longer had the thought of reporting it to the authorities. The antagonist was extremely wealthy and could afford to send people to cause trouble without a care. "Maybe it's time to cut your losses. You should close the fruit shop," Wang Zhenxing advised. "But this shop is my livelihood. If I close it, I'll have no source of income. I still have rent, utilities, and living expenses to cover," Xu Yuru said, worried. "This shop only earns a few thousand a month. If you're willing, I could support you for half a year to keep it going," Wang Zhenxing said. "You've already done so much for me. I really feel bad accepting your help," Xu Yuru said, feeling embarrassed. "If you feel bad, just consider it alone, Wang Zhenxing said. Why are you being so kind to me? Xu Yiru asked softly. What do you think? Wang Zhenxing looked back at her with a smile, meeting her gaze. I don't know. Xu Yiru felt her heart race and couldn't maintain eye contact with him. We went to university together, you were my senior, and we also worked together for a while. When you're in trouble, of course, I'll help, Wang Zhenxing said, not revealing his deeper intentions. He knew from experience that in relationships, the one who reveals their feelings first is often the one in a passive position. Although Wang Zhenxing wasn't interested in a romantic relationship with Xu Yiru and only wanted to pursue her physically, the general principle still applied. Is that all? Xu Yiru asked, a little disappointed. Is there any other reason? Wang Zhenxing teased with a smile. Xu Yiru didn't say anything, her gaze complex, as if lost in thought. Wang Zhenxing helped Xu Yiru clean up the wreckage of the fruit shop. After about half an hour, they managed to restore some order. Your shirt is torn under the armpit, Xu Yiru said, wiping her forehead. She suddenly noticed Wang Zhenxing's clothes. So it is. It's fine, I'll just throw it away and change into a new one, Wang Zhenxing said nonchalantly. Your shirt looks really nice, probably worth a few thousand, even tens of thousands. It's a shame to throw it away just because it's torn. Let me sew it up for you, Xu Yiru offered. Sure, Wang Zhenxing nodded and called his driver, who was waiting outside in the car, to buy a new shirt. After the driver brought the new shirt, he quickly returned to the car, not daring to disturb his boss. Wang Zhenxing took off the torn shirt. His perfect muscular physique, like a work of art, was now fully visible. Xu Yiru couldn't help but stare, her eyes wide. It was the first time she had seen Wang Zhenxing's body. Although she had always suspected that Wang Zhenxing was in good shape, she hadn't expected it to be this perfect. Xu Yiru blushed despite herself. Even with her strong emotional control, she couldn't help but feel flustered. Xu Yiru's favorability towards their host +2, total favorability 59 heartfelt attraction. Wang Zhenxing pretended not to notice Xu Yiru's gaze and continued to change shirts. In fact, he had deliberately damaged the shirt to create the situation, knowing that Xu Yiru, being frugal, would want to save it. He planned to show off his perfect body, all in a strategic effort to make her more attracted to him. After a while, Wang Zhenxing finished changing and handed the torn shirt to Xu Yiru. Here, thanks for helping. No trouble, I'll sew it and wash it before I return it to you, Xu Yiru said, her throat dry. She coughed lightly before responding. Night fell. After dinner, Xu Yiru took out her sewing kit at home and began repairing the shirt. In about 10 minutes, she had fixed the tear. She examined the shirt, comparing the repaired section with the rest, and found it almost impossible to tell the difference. Just as she was about to wash the shirt by hand, she suddenly noticed a strange scent on it. Wang Zhenxing had worked hard cleaning up the fruit shop during the day and had sweat on his shirt. Naturally, it carried some odor. Normally, this smell wouldn't be considered pleasant, but as Xu Yiru sniffed it, she didn't feel disgusted. Instead, her heart fluttered unexpectedly. Subconsciously, she bit her lip and, almost without thinking, held the shirt close to her nose, breathing it in. It felt like she was near the owner of the shirt, something that comforted her lonely heart. How can I be like this? Xu Yiru felt ashamed and quickly put the shirt down. However, she didn't rush to wash it. After all, Wang Zhenxing didn't need the shirt urgently, and it wouldn't matter if she returned it to him in a few days. As night deepened, Xu Yiru went back to her bedroom to rest. As she had the night before, she tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Just as she started to feel drowsy, the noise from the apartment upstairs woke her up. She listened closely and realized it was a couple fighting. The woman's voice sounded particularly miserable, indicating she was losing the argument. This wasn't the first time Xu Yiru had heard such noises. In the past, the fights had been quieter, and she could block them out with earplugs. But tonight, the couple upstairs was fighting loudly. With the push for having a second child, they were probably planning on having one. Xu Yiru couldn't blame them. She covered her ears, but even then, she could still hear everything clearly. As a woman who had been single for many years, hearing such noises late at night was a huge mental torment for Xu Yiru. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, she went to the living room, grabbed the unwashed shirt, and brought it to her bedroom. Zhenxing. After a while, in the dark bedroom, low murmurs could be heard. Chapter 5, The Female Lead Lin Keqing. Their host successfully executed a malicious act, secretly instructing the couple upstairs to fight at night and mentally tormenting Xu Yuru, earning 20 villain aura points. Xu Yuru's favorability toward the host +5, current total favorability, 64 adoration. Morning. Wang Zhenxing had just woken up when he saw 2 messages on his phone from late last night. It was well worth the money he spent hiring the actors. The results were pretty good. Xu Yuru's favorability had finally surpassed the level of infatuation and reached adoration. This increased his range of operation. Wang Zhenxing wasn't in a hurry to contact Xu Yuru just yet. After all, she had only spent 1 sleepless night being tortured. He had paid the couple upstairs 30,000 yuan, instructing them to fight every night for the next 2 weeks. The couple were just regular workers, earning about 10,000 yuan a month combined. 3,000 yuan for each of them was a significant amount, and they were very motivated to act. Moreover, fighting was a regular part of their relationship, so it wasn't particularly difficult for them. Time passed quietly, and 3 days later, Xu Yuru's fruit shop had closed. She was bored with nothing to do during the day. Previously, she was busy with the shop, but now she had nothing to occupy her time. At night, she had no trouble sleeping due to exhaustion from the day's work. But now that she was idle, her mind kept wandering. Her emotional void had only become more pronounced. At night, she again heard the fighting upstairs. Now, the thing Xu Yuru did most was sit with her phone in hand, waiting for a call. She was eagerly hoping someone would contact her. But after several days of waiting, no call came. Unable to bear it any longer, Xu Yuru decided to make the first move and dialed a familiar number. At the office, Wang Zhenxing was handling some company matters when his phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and smiled, setting aside the contract before answering the call leisurely. "Zhenxing, I hope I'm not interrupting your work." Xu Yuru asked gently. "Is something wrong?" Wang Zhenxing asked. "That, the shirt." Xu Yuru instinctively wanted to return Wang Zhenxing's shirt, but then she remembered she hadn't washed it yet. Not only did it have his sweat on it, but her scent had also lingered. Now clearly wasn't the right time to return it. "You're talking about that shirt, right? Is it washed yet?" Wang Zhenxing asked. "It was, but it got dirty after the wind blew it onto the ground." "I'll wash it again and bring it to you," Xu Yuru said. "Okay." Wang Zhenxing nodded. She didn't hang up immediately. She tried to think of another topic. After a few seconds, she said, "The drain in my house is blocked again. Do you have time to come over tomorrow? What do you want to eat? I'll buy the ingredients in advance, and we can have dinner at my place," Wang Zhenxing offered. Upon hearing this, Wang Zhenxing couldn't help but smile. He had been waiting for Xu Yuru to initiate the invitation for several days. He was almost ready to abandon his work to accept. But just then, a voice popped into his head. "Important character Xu Yuru has extended an invitation, please make a choice. Option 1, agree to help her unblock the drain and have dinner, with a 50% chance of staying over. Option 2, politely refuse, wait a few more days, and Xu Yuru's favorability +5. The next time you help her, the chance of staying over increases to 99%. Only a 50% chance of staying over if I agree now?" Wang Zhenxing was slightly surprised. Xu Yuru had been tortured for days, yet she was still holding up. No wonder she had been single for so long. Her resistance was impressive. Good thing he didn't rush into agreeing. "These days, I've been very busy with company matters, I can't make it." "Maybe in a few days," Wang Zhenxing responded on the phone. "A few days?" Xu Yuru sounded a bit disappointed but didn't press further. "All right, call me when you're free, and I'll buy the groceries in advance." "Okay, I have something to take care of now, so I'll hang up," Wang Zhenxing said quickly before ending the call. Xu Yuru's favorability toward the host +5, current total favorability, 69 adoration. Soon, Wang Zhenxing received a notification. Refusing Xu Yuru had indeed increased her favorability. For men, the more elusive a woman is, the more they want her. This seems to apply to women as well. The harder a man is to get, the more a woman wants him. Wang Zhenxing smiled playfully and continued handling his work. He had previously employed a very capable male secretary to help with company affairs, but the secretary had resigned to take a higher position abroad. Wang Zhenxing hadn't found a suitable replacement yet, so he had to deal with a lot of company matters himself. He worked until 9 p.m. before finishing his tasks for the day. It looks like I need to find a competent secretary soon. Otherwise, I'll be this busy all the time, without time for leisure, Wang Zhenxing thought. Although he was energetic, he still felt a bit drained. Plus, he hadn't eaten dinner yet. After leaving the office, he told the driver to take him to a nearby hotel. Upon arriving, the driver waited outside while Wang Zhenxing entered the hotel restaurant. He ordered some dishes and ate alone. After a while of eating in peace, he overheard some arguing at a nearby table. It was a hotel waitress who had accidentally spilled tea on a customer. The customer claimed to have been burned and demanded compensation. The waitress was very pretty, probably in her early 20s, and kept apologizing profusely. Wang Zhenxing couldn't help but glance over. Not because he wanted to intervene, but because the waitress had a great figure. The female lead Lin Keqing is in trouble. Please make a choice. Option 1, it's none of my business, pretend I didn't see. Option 2, go help the customer and scold the waitress, make her pay for everything. Villain aura points plus 20, Lin Keqing's favorability 30. Option 3, help the waitress, Lin Keqing's favorability plus 5, reward, advanced combat skills. So this waitress is the female lead. No wonder she has such a great figure, Wang Zhenxing thought. Option 1 was obviously the easiest, but options 2 and 3 had more value. Now that he was rich and good looking, if he could fight, it would be even better. Although with his status, it was unlikely he'd get into a fight with ordinary people, it couldn't hurt to have an extra skill, especially for self-defense. Plus, having advanced combat skills might help him save a beautiful woman when the time came. What a perfect scenario. Chapter 6 First Meeting. After making a decision, Wang Zhenxing waved to a beautiful waitress passing by. The beautiful waitress looked at the quarreling table and wanted to go over there, but Wang Zhenxing's action forced her to stop. Wang Zhenxing had an extraordinary temperament and was a rich and wealthy man. How could she, a small waitress, dare to ignore him? Sir, what can I do for you? The beautiful waitress held an empty plate in her hand, lowered her body, and asked in a gentle voice. Wang Zhenxing silently took out a stack of cash from his body, first took out 5 bills, this is for you. Then he put another thick stack of cash on the empty plate of the beautiful waitress and continued. Take these over and tell the guests over there not to quarrel. I've been busy all day and just want to have a quiet meal. After that, Wang Zhenxing continued to eat on his own. Yes, sir. The beautiful waitress was stunned for a moment, then nodded happily and walked not far away. Pay 10,000 yuan, or this matter will not end today. Madam, I have only worked here for a few days, I really don't have that much money. If you don't have it, ask your family for it. I don't believe your family can't come up with 10,000 yuan. I. Lin Keqing looked embarrassed. Her family conditions were not good, and asking her family to pay 10,000 yuan would undoubtedly be asking her parents to cut their own flesh. What do you mean by I? Hurry up, don't waste my time. Where is your manager? Call your manager over, the female guest said unyieldingly. At this time, the beautiful waitress holding the plate came over. 1111, can you? Lin Keqing saw her friend coming over, and subconsciously wanted to ask her to borrow some money. My friend was careless, why are you so aggressive? You want to pay money, right? This is enough for you, right? Phone 1111 said, throwing the cash on the plate on the table in front of the female guest. The female guest took a quick look at the stack of cash and estimated that it was 15,000 yuan. She couldn't help but smack her lips. In fact, asking for 10,000 yuan was just a casual remark. She would feel comfortable even if she lost a few thousand yuan. Besides, the tea was warm, not hot, and it just wet her clothes a little. Okay, let's forget about it. The female guest said contentedly. The quarrel stopped and the matter was finally resolved. 1111, thank you. I will return the money to you. Lin Keqing took phone 1111 aside and said solemnly. This money is not mine. Phone 1111 shook her head and smiled. Who is that? Lin Keqing was puzzled. Look, the handsome boss over there. Phone 1111 nodded in the direction of Wang Zhenxing. Lin Keqing looked in the direction indicated by her friend and saw a man in bright and exquisite clothes eating silently. I don't know him. Why should he help me? Lin Keqing was puzzled. He just told me that he had been busy all day and just wanted to have a quiet meal, and the noise here just disturbed his meal. Feng Qianqian explained. To have a quiet meal, he casually threw out more than 10,000 yuan. Lin Keqing's rosy little mouth was so surprised that she could swallow an egg. Rich people certainly have different ideas from us. Spending 10,000 yuan may be about the same as spending 1 yuan for ordinary people. Feng Qianqian stared at Wang Zhenxing and suddenly remembered something. Looking at his appearance, he seems to be a little familiar. Yes, I remember that he is the famous diamond bachelor in Qingling. It seems that his name is Wang Zhenxing. No, it's Wang Zhenxing. Wang Zhenxing is even more handsome than the rumors say. I heard that he started from scratch and worked hard by himself. It's amazing. Lin Keqing also secretly looked over there and couldn't help but admire him. Heroine Lin Keqing's favorability to their host +5, the current total favorability is 35 friendly. Their host slightly affects the direction of the plot and gets 100 counterattack points. Wang Zhenxing was eating. He paused after hearing the system's message. At the same time, he saw someone looking at him from the corner of his eye. He smiled secretly and continued to eat silently. Soon, he noticed someone walking towards him. Sir, thank you for helping me out just now. Hearing the pleasant female voice beside him, Wang Zhenxing raised his eyes slightly and looked at her. Just now, he could only see Lin Keqing's amazing figure from a distance. Now that he is close, he can see it more clearly. Naturally fair skin, oval face, delicate facial features. There is no trace of makeup on her face. This is a natural beauty. She still has a trace of girlish immaturity that has not completely faded. This kind of temperament can usually only be seen in female college students. It's just a small matter. Wang Zhenxing glanced at her lightly and said indifferently. It may be a small matter for you, but it is a great help to me. I will return the money to you later. Lin Keqing, a girl from a poor village, is honest and simple. She always feels bad when she owes others something. No need. Wang Zhenxing said indifferently. No, I will definitely return it to you. Lin Keqing insisted. Wang Zhenxing was stunned for a moment, raised his eyes and looked at her again, and saw a stubbornness on her face. Okay. Wang Zhenxing was too lazy to argue with her. Then I'd like to ask, what is your contact number? Lin Keqing asked in a low voice. Wang Zhenxing stretched out his hand. Lin Keqing understood and quickly took out his mobile phone and handed it over with both hands. Wang Zhenxing took the mobile phone and made a call. Lin Keqing soon heard the vibration sound of the mobile phone coming from Wang Zhenxing's body. Wang Zhenxing hung up the call, returned the mobile phone to Lin Keqing, and then continued to eat in silence. Sir, I won't bother you anymore. Lin Keqing said gratefully again, and then quietly returned to her friend. Phone 1111 asked curiously about the process. Lin Keqing told the truth. You are stupid. People have paid for you, but you still insist on paying them back. It's more than 10,000 yuan, which is not a small amount of money. Phone 1111 said angrily. But I feel bad for owing them money. Lin Keqing said. Alas, I really don't know how to say you. Phone 1111 knew her friend's character. After complaining, she didn't continue to dwell on this topic. She just said with some emotion. Sincerity is really a killer move. That's a diamond bachelor that countless women can't get close to. You actually want his contact information. What's the number? Let me write it down too. Phone 1111 asked excitedly. Lin Keqing naturally wouldn't refuse. She took out her mobile phone and flipped through the call records for phone 1111 to look at. Phone 1111 took out her phone and saved the number. After comparing it several times and confirming that it was correct, she felt relieved. 1111, what do you want his number for? Lin Keqing asked in confusion. He is rich, elegant, and generous. It would be a blessing for anyone to be her woman. Phone 1111 looked at Wang Zhenxing not far away without blinking. Charming men are pleasing to the eye even when having a meal. He seems to be over 35 years old. You are more than 10 years older. Do you still want to be his woman? Lin Keqing was surprised. What if there is a difference of more than 10 years? Don't you think he is very charming? And he is handsome and rich. Phone 1111 looked excited. But there is a difference of more than 10 years. Lin Keqing shook her head. If she is looking for a partner, she can only accept a difference of 5 years at most. Otherwise, the age difference is too big, and there will probably be a generation gap, right? What if there is a difference of more than 10 years? If you don't know him, and he tells you he is more than 20 years old, you won't doubt it, right? Phone 1111 asked back. Okay, just like it yourself. Lin Keqing didn't argue with her. Phone 1111 suddenly sighed, it's useless to just like him. He must look down on me. I just want to ask him about career issues and see if he can give me some life advice. He is a self-made business tycoon. His knowledge and vision must be extraordinary. Just give me some pointers. Maybe it will be enough for me to save a few years of detours. Chapter 7 Old Wang educates young people. Wang Zhenxing took a bath after returning home to relieve his fatigue. At this time, a strange phone call suddenly came. After a pause, he answered the phone. Hello, Mr. Wang, I am a waitress at the Century Hotel. My name is Phone 1111. We met a few hours ago. You gave me a 500 yuan tip at that time. Phone 1111 said carefully on the phone. How do you have my contact information? Wang Zhenxing frowned. I asked my friend Lin Keqing to come, but don't worry, I have no bad intentions. I am about to graduate from my senior year, and I am confused about the future. I want to ask you some questions so that I can plan my future life path. Phone 1111 said sincerely. Are you friends with Lin Keqing? Wang Zhenxing's impatience was reduced a little. Lin Keqing is the heroine, and he can gain a lot of benefits from her. Wang Zhenxing was originally planning to find someone to check Lin Keqing's background. Unexpectedly, Lin Keqing's friend suddenly contacted him. He could take the opportunity to learn about Lin Keqing through Phone 1111. Don't you look at the time? It's already past 11 o'clock in the evening. Although he planned to get close to the other party, Wang Zhenxing did not seem very attentive. Otherwise, it would inevitably arouse suspicion. Besides, Phone 1111 and Lin Keqing are friends, and his chat with Phone 1111 might fall into Lin Keqing's ears. I'm sorry to bother you. I'll hang up now. Phone 1111 said disappointedly. My time is precious. I don't have time to talk to you too much. I may go to Century Hotel for dinner tomorrow night. If you need to ask anything, you can come over then. But I won't give you too much time, 5 minutes at most. Wang Zhenxing's tone sounded a little indifferent, but in fact he was looking forward to meeting Phone 1111. Although he had only met Phone 1111 once, he could see a lot of impetuousness in Phone 1111's eyes. Such people are often eager for success and have no patience to be down to earth. Many college graduates are like this, and this is not an exception. As long as it is handled properly, such people are easier to control. If Phone 1111 can be used for his own benefit, it will provide unlimited convenience for approaching Lin Keqing. Thinking of this, Wang Zhenxing recalled Phone 1111's appearance. Phone 1111 is a petite girl. She is about 163 centimeters tall. Overall, she looks thin where she should be thin and fat where she should be fat. It is a typical example of a small branch bearing great fruit. Although she is not as stunningly beautiful as Lin Keqing, she is also a rare petite beauty. If 100 is the full score, Lin Keqing can score 97 points, and Phone Qianqian can score about 92 points. Between 90 and 95 points, she can be called a first-class beauty. Thank you, Mr. Wang. Phone Qianqian was overjoyed when she heard Wang Zhenxing agreed. After ending the call, she returned to the house and even jumped up with excitement. What are you so happy about? Lin Keqing came out of the shower room and asked curiously when she saw Phone Qianqian's abnormality. Both of them are about to graduate in their senior year and are preparing to find a suitable internship job. For convenience, they rented a house together. But both of them hit a wall and did not find a satisfactory job that matches their major, so they are currently working as waiters at the Century Hotel together, planning to make some money to maintain the rent and daily expenses. Nothing, I just saw a funny short video. Phone 1111 lied. She was afraid that Lin Keqing would follow her to find Wang Zhenxing tomorrow and ask Wang Zhenxing some questions. Wang Zhenxing said on the phone before that he would only give her 5 minutes. Phone 1111 still thought the time was too short, and of course she didn't want others to occupy the opportunity she had finally won. Even if this person was her good friend Lin Keqing. After all, people always have selfish motives. Phone 1111 was no exception. Time quickly came to the next day. Phone 1111 and Lin Keqing were supposed to work the day shift today and could get off work in the evening. However, Phone 1111 replaced a waiter because of an agreement and continued to work. Lin Keqing went back first. After finishing a day's work, Wang Zhenxing came to the Century Hotel for dinner. Phone 1111 was almost looking forward to it. While Wang Zhenxing was waiting for the dishes to be served, Phone 1111 came to the table. "Mr. Wang, good evening." Phone Qianqian bowed humbly and greeted Wang Zhenxing. "Please sit down first. Before you ask questions, I need to ask you some questions first to get a general understanding of your situation, so that I can give you some insights." Wang Zhenxing didn't waste any words and went straight to the point. Volcano literature. Phone Qianqian was a little nervous and sat carefully in front of Wang Zhenxing. This posture gave me a sense of déjà vu of a child who had just gone to kindergarten to listen to a teacher's lecture. "What does Mr. Wang want to ask? How many boyfriends have you had? Why do you ask this?" Phone Qianqian didn't understand. Useless feelings will only accelerate your mental exhaustion. If you want to stand out, you can't put extra energy on feelings. "Okay, answer my question." "I haven't dated." "Tell the truth." "I really haven't dated." "If I lie, I will become ugly." "Very good, you already have an important condition for success." Wang Zhenxing looked at the gold watch on his wrist and started counting. "You start asking questions. The 5-minute countdown begins." Phone 1111 knew that the opportunity was rare, so of course she wouldn't dawdle. "Mr. Wang, I'm studying journalism at Qingling University. Now." Phone 1111 was about to briefly introduce herself. But after just a few words, she was interrupted by Wang Zhenxing. "You said you studied journalism, so your family must have connections in this area, right?" "No." Phone 1111 shook her head. "Then why did you choose journalism?" Wang Zhenxing questioned. "Why is there something wrong with this major?" Phone 1111 looked blank. Wang Zhenxing laughed a little. "I can tell you for sure that without this background, it is difficult to find a good job in this industry. Even if you are lucky enough to find a job in journalism, you will probably just stay where you are after decades of work. In short, the future is bleak." "When you chose this major, didn't your family stop you?" Phone Qianqian said with some inferiority, "My family is very ordinary, and my parents didn't have much education, so how could they know these things?" "Then I advise you to change your career direction." Wang Zhenxing said lightly. "I had excellent grades during my school years. Is it possible that even if I work hard, I still have no chance to succeed in the news industry?" Phone Qianqian asked unwillingly. Wang Zhenxing said slowly, "It seems that you have never suffered the beating of society. If you don't believe it, you can try it. It's just a scam that you can succeed through hard work. Just like what others told you before, hard work can make you rich, but in fact, can hard work really make you rich?" Phone 1111 was speechless. Because it seems to be true. However, the education from childhood to adulthood has told Phone 1111 that hard work will definitely lead to success. Chapter 8: Help from a Noble. Phone Qianqian was unwilling to give up and wanted to maintain her belief, so she looked for evidence to refute Wang Zhenxing's point of view. There was an entrepreneur named Mar. After graduating from college, wasn't he also mediocre? Now he owns a huge game company. Even the most popular social software is from the company owned by this entrepreneur. Isn't this due to hard work? The man you are talking about, his father was the boss of a company, and he was the boss of a company decades ago. Do you know the value of it? Wang Zhenxing said. What about the famous real estate tycoon named Wang? He didn't go to school and later joined the army. Didn't he make a fortune through hard work? Phone Qianqian said again. You probably don't know how many medals his father-in-law has on his shoulders. Wang Zhenxing replied calmly. What about the other man who started his business with an online shopping platform and is known as Mar? He was just a teacher before. He was a teacher, but his family background is not bad. He has a lot of connections, and he has accumulated a certain amount of wealth. Otherwise, how could he raise funds to continue his business after several failed business ventures? What about the other boss named Liu who founded an online shopping platform for electrical appliances? He was born in poverty. He really doesn't have a background, but he has a great wife who helped him a lot when he started his business. Oh, by the way, she should be considered his ex-wife now. Well, what about you? You started from scratch, isn't that true? Wang Zhenxing took a sip of tea to moisten his throat. Me? I didn't have much money at the beginning, but my father left me a lot of connections. Actually, the reason why these successful people you think are successful is related to their own efforts, but hard work is only one factor of success. Choice, opportunity, luck, vision, etc., these are 100 times more important than hard work. And now the times have changed, the economic structure has taken shape, it is not easy to make a fortune. Of course, this does not mean that there are no opportunities, but why do you think it is your turn? Young man, look at the reality clearly. Wang Zhenxing was shattering her original beliefs and cognition bit by bit. After listening to Feng Qianqian, their whole person was completely confused, and asked dully, "If I want to get rich, can you give me some advice?" Make more use of your own advantages, such as you are pretty, which is one point that you are better than other women, and pay attention to the nobles around you. Having a good noble to help you is better than struggling for decades. Wang Zhenxing saw that the time was almost right, and immediately hinted. A noble? Phone 1111 savored it carefully and seemed to understand something. Mr. Wang, can you be my noble? Phone 1111 asked boldly. Wang Zhenxing did not comment, but just looked down at the gold watch on his wrist. 5 minutes have passed. Phone 1111's face turned pale. She wanted to ask more questions, but she was afraid of annoying him, so she could only stand up slowly. But just when Phone 1111 was about to leave, Wang Zhenxing suddenly said, "Help me get a luxury suite. I want to rest here today." Phone 1111 turned around and took some cash and a certificate from Wang Zhenxing. Among the stack of cash, 1,000 was a tip for Phone 1111 to run away. Phone 1111 couldn't help but feel a little dazed. She worked as a waitress in a hotel, and her monthly salary was only a few thousand yuan. The tip given by the big boss was 1,000 yuan. Rich people are really arrogant. Mr. Wang, wait a moment. I'll do it right away. Phone 1111 bowed in response, and then went to the front desk to check in Wang Zhenxing. After about a few minutes, she came back with a room card. When she handed the room card to Wang Zhenxing, she took a second look at the room card. 8081, Phone 1111 subconsciously recited the number on the room card in her mind. After Wang Zhenxing finished his meal, he took the room card to the designated room and took a bath to relieve his fatigue. Halfway through, his cell phone suddenly rang. Wang Zhenxing looked at the incoming call and found that it was Xu Yiru. He, Zhenxing, did I bother you? After the call was connected, Xu Yiru's gentle and soft voice rang. No, I'm not busy now. That's good. What are you doing now? Taking a bath. Hearing the reply on the phone, Xu Yiru subconsciously thought of the picture of Wang Zhenxing shirtless that day. That perfect figure seemed to be engraved in her mind. When she thought of Wang Zhenxing taking a bath, she even imagined the scene inadvertently. She only imagined it for a few seconds, and suddenly felt extremely embarrassed. Tomorrow is Saturday, are you busy as a big boss? Xu Yiru bit her lip and asked. The previous secretary resigned, and now there are many affairs in the company to deal with, so it's a bit busy. What Wang Zhenxing said was true. He has been getting up early and going to bed late in recent days. It's not that he has not thought about finding a secretary to fill the vacancy as soon as possible. It's just that it's not easy to find a suitable and capable secretary in a short time. After hearing this, Xu Yiru couldn't help feeling a little disappointed, and she was embarrassed to ask Wang Zhenxing to help fix the light bulb, so she could only say with concern. Well, take care of yourself and don't get tired. Well, nothing, you should have a good rest too. After Wang Zhenxing responded, he hung up the call. After hearing this, Xu Yiru sighed repeatedly. She wanted to have a good rest, but the noise upstairs was too loud every night in recent days. The two people upstairs were shameless and didn't know how to restrain themselves. Xu Yiru condemned in her heart. Just when she finished condemning, it started again upstairs. Xu Yiru watched TV with her head held high to divert her attention. Half an hour later, she didn't remember the plot of the TV at all. So, she could only take out the nail clippers silently, cut off the long nails on her left hand and polished them. Then, she went to wash her hands clean with hand sanitizer. Xu Yiru was a very hygienic woman. After doing all this, Xu Yiru returned to her bedroom and turned off the lights. 11 o'clock in the evening. Century Hotel. Wang Zhenxing hadn't rested yet, leaning against the head of the bed and reading a book. At this time, there was a knock on the door outside. Wang Zhenxing got up and opened the door. Mr. Wang, I won't disturb you, will I? Feng Qianqian stood timidly at the door. Wang Zhenxing was not surprised to see her, but he said calmly. You work in the restaurant department, why are you in the guest room department? Besides, I didn't seem to order room service. I'm off work, but I have another question to ask Mr. Wang. Feng Qianqian looked sincere. What? It's the question that you haven't answered yet, Mr. Wang. Can you be my benefactor? I'm not your father. Why should I help you for no reason? I. Feng Qianqian hesitated and couldn't speak. Or, do you have anything worth my help? I think I should. Feng Qianqian took a step forward and slowly closed the door behind her. After a while, the sound of water came from the shower room. Alas, why don't young people work hard and down to earth, but have to take shortcuts? Wang Zhenxing sighed while reading a book. Host succeeded in his evil deeds, led the female supporting role Feng Qianqian astray, and obtained 30 points of villain halo. Chapter 9 Introduction to Work. Female supporting role Feng Qianqian's favorability towards their host plus 10, the current total favorability is 60 admiration. Host intercepted the protagonist Qin Yi and gained the admiration of the female supporting role Feng Qianqian, affecting the plot direction, and obtained 200 counterattack points. Wang Zhenxing's excellent appearance made Feng Qianqian reach the level of 50 heartbeat when she first met him. After a friendly exchange, it was directly increased by 10. A very famous female writer said that there is a shortcut to quickly enter a woman's heart. Sure enough. As for intercepting the protagonist Qin Yi, this was something Wang Zhenxing did not expect. But on second thought, Qin Yi, the protagonist, is awesome and handsome. It is quite normal to gain the admiration of the female supporting role. Of course, it is unlikely now. Because he was intercepted by Wang Zhenxing. If Phone 1111 reaches the level of admiration, then it will be better to arrange for her to do something. Wang Zhenxing is a little worried about relying on money alone to maintain the relationship. The sun is high in the sky. The sun shines in from the window. Phone 1111 opens her eyes tiredly, and her whole body feels like it is broken. Turning her head to look at the pillow next to her. Empty. He had left long ago, but left a check on the table at the head of the bed. Phone 1111 got up with difficulty, took the check and looked at it, and counted the string of zeros after 100,000. Phone 1111 was stunned and felt a little dazed. After counting 3 times, she was sure that she had not counted wrong. Yes, it was 100,000. If I work, how long will it take to earn 100,000? And this is just what he gave me casually. There is also a message from him in the morning on the phone. This is your pocket money for this month. Take it and dress yourself up first. 1 month's pocket money. After Phone 1111 was surprised, she was immediately ecstatic. She was stupid. After coming here last night, she didn't discuss any specific returns for this transaction. Some things happened in a muddle. If the other party pretended that nothing happened afterwards, she would have no way to deal with it. But fortunately, this didn't happen. She lifted the quilt and saw a few plum blossoms on it. Phone 1111 couldn't help but feel dazed for a moment after losing the beauty that she had preserved for many years, but she didn't feel any regret. She continued to lie on the luxurious big bed in the high-end hotel she had never stayed in for an hour or two before she got up and went to a nearby pharmacy. At noon, Phone 1111 received a message and went to a luxurious restaurant in advance. The private room was booked by Wang Zhenxing a long time ago. The reason why Phone 1111 came first was naturally to avoid being noticed. After all, Wang Zhenxing was a diamond bachelor with a little fame in Qingling, and he was well known. Phone 1111 waited for about half an hour before she saw Wang Zhenxing walk into the private room. Mr. Wang. Mr. Wang, you are here. Phone Qianqian couldn't think of a suitable address, so she continued to use the previous address. Order whatever you want. Wang Zhenxing handed over the menu. Oh. Phone Qianqian took the menu tremblingly and saw many expensive dishes. The cheapest dish cost 1,000 yuan. Phone Qianqian was amazed and finally ordered only 2 dishes. Wang Zhenxing then ordered 2 more and pressed the summon button in the private room. Soon, a waitress walked into the private room and recorded the dishes ordered by the guests. While recording, the waitress looked at Wang Zhenxing frequently and looked at Phone Qianqian strangely. Obviously, she seemed to recognize Wang Zhenxing. The waitress's eyes flickered, guessing the relationship between the two. After recording, she was ready to leave. Wait a minute. Wang Zhenxing suddenly said. Dear guest, is there anything else you need? The waitress asked politely. Niece, do you want to drink some red wine? Wang Zhenxing asked phone 1111. Phone 1111 was stunned for a moment, then reacted and shook her head and said, no. That's fine. Wang Zhenxing said to the waitress. The waitress smiled and nodded, then left the private room. Remember, I am your uncle, and you are my niece. Wang Zhenxing added to phone 1111. Well, I remember, Mr. Wang. Phone 1111 nodded like a chicken pecking at rice, but halfway through the words, she suddenly realized that something was wrong, so she changed her words. I remember, uncle. Well. Wang Zhenxing nodded. Niece, I left in a hurry this morning, and there are some things I haven't told you yet. Do you plan to be idle and do nothing, or do you want to realize your self-worth? Wang Zhenxing asked phone 1111. Of course, to realize your self-worth. As a well-educated female college student, phone 1111 still has some pursuits. Okay, I have some connections with the deputy station of Qingling TV station. I can introduce you to Qingling TV station. Wang Zhenxing was quite happy with phone 1111's choice. If phone 1111 was really idle and did nothing, she was afraid that she would come to bother him for no reason. Join Qingling TV station. Phone 1111 was surprised and happy. Joining the city TV station right after graduation was something she had never dared to think about before. It's good to have connections. If the classmates who study journalism in the class knew about it, they would definitely be envious. Thank you, uncle. Phone 1111 said excitedly. What major is your friend Lin Keqing studying? While eating, Wang Zhenxing started to get to the point and asked phone 1111. I'm studying business administration. Phone 1111 said. How are your professional grades? Very good, I get scholarships every year. During college, I don't have to pay tuition from my family, and I can also send some money to my family. Phone 1111 was envious and jealous when she said this. Wang Zhenxing nodded slowly after hearing this. Normally, the heroine is rarely a mirvars. In addition to her good looks and good figure, she has extremely high abilities in at least one professional field. Lin Keqing is obviously very good at business administration. With this ability, she is a good hand at managing a company. Wang Zhenxing is currently planning to find a secretary to help with the company's affairs. This Lin Keqing may be a good choice. Once Lin Keqing becomes his subordinate, it will definitely be more convenient to get rewards. Wang Zhenxing continued to inquire about some things about Lin Keqing. Feng Qianqian, of course, told him everything she knew. After asking almost all the questions, the meal was over. This restaurant also provides accommodation. After Wang Zhenxing finished eating, he went upstairs to take a nap. Feng Qianqian, of course, also went to rest for a while. Female supporting role Feng Qianqian's favorability towards the host +5, current total favorability is 65 admiration. When Wang Zhenxing left, he found a system message for half an hour. I was too focused before, so I didn't notice it. How can I put it? I can only say that love grows over time. Good niece, help me do something. If you succeed, uncle will give you 500,000 pocket money. Before leaving, Wang Zhenxing explained some things to the weak and confused Feng Qianqian. Chapter 10 Feng 1111 reveals her true colors. I am a rich girl. When Lin Keqing got home from get off work, she saw Feng 1111 trying on new skirts. The texture of the new skirts was particularly exquisite, with excellent workmanship and style. Even though Lin Keqing had never seen any brand name goods, she could guess that these skirts were not cheap. 1111, these skirts are so beautiful. Lin Keqing looked envious. Of course, they cost thousands or tens of thousands of yuan each. Phone 1111 couldn't help but feel a little proud. So expensive. Lin Keqing smacked her lips and looked at her with some doubt. She had known Phone 1111 for several years, and she had never seen her so generous before. Phone 1111 noticed the doubt in Lin Keqing's eyes, and immediately remembered that her uncle had told her not to reveal their affairs. Even if she revealed a little, she would definitely not end up well. After thinking for a while, Phone 1111 said seriously, Keqing, I won't hide it from you. My family conditions are actually very good. It's just that when I was studying, my family limited my financial conditions. I was angry before and wanted to rely on my own efforts to struggle, so I didn't accept my family's arrangement, but I was hit ruthlessly by reality. Now I think it through, so I accept my family's arrangement and prepare to work at Qingling TV station. Lin Keqing trusted her good friend and was quite straightforward. After hearing her say this, she didn't doubt it, but just envied. Go to Qingling TV station to work. 1111, I really envy you. Seeing her reaction, Phone 1111's vanity was greatly satisfied. When I was in college, I was always suppressed by Lin Keqing, but now I can finally be better than her in one aspect. Even if this is a kind of transaction. But to be honest, Phone 1111 didn't feel at a disadvantage. Wang Zhenxing's conditions are very good, and his appearance alone is extremely outstanding. Even if you find such a boyfriend, you will be very proud to take him out. Besides, he is very rich. And he is willing to spend money on himself. It is not in vain that she has been so picky in the past and has not accepted the pursuit of the opposite sex, and has always remained single. Keqing, I plan to go to the Century Hotel to quit my job as a waiter tomorrow. You should also quit with me. Phone 1111 remembered her uncle's instructions and suddenly said to Lin Keqing. Lin Keqing sighed slightly. 1111, you have a new job, but I don't. I'd better work as a waiter there first, and quit my job after I have a new job. I accidentally saw a job advertisement today and saw a job that suits you. Phone 1111 put her arm around her shoulder affectionately. What job is it? Lin Keqing asked expectantly. Zhenxing Group is recruiting a secretary for the president. You study business administration, which is related to your major. How dare I do that? I am a fresh graduate, how can I possibly be hired for such a position? Why not give it a try? You won't lose anything. If you are worried, just don't quit your job at the hotel. Isn't that enough? But the position of secretary for the president is a bit. Lin Keqing has watched too much TV and is a little afraid of being seduced. Keqing, can you not be so dirty-minded? The president of Zhenxing Group is Wang Zhenxing, a famous bachelor with a clear mind. How many beautiful women have offered themselves to him, but he still doesn't like you? Do you think he will like you? Phone Qianqian put her hands on her waist and started to complain. Hearing this, Lin Keqing was immediately ashamed. She had met Wang Zhenxing before and got his help. He doesn't look like that kind of person. And Phone Qianqian was right. He is so outstanding, what kind of woman can he not have? Okay, then I'll send my resume over and try. Lin Keqing came to the bedroom, sorted out her resume, then opened her notebook and searched for the recruitment interface of Zhenxing Group's official website, and sent her resume out. After doing all this, she was ready to take a shower and rest. However, Phone 1111 stayed in the shower room for a long time without coming out. There was only one shower room in the shared house. Lin Keqing could only wait. After about 10 minutes, Phone 1111 came out with a bath towel around her. Lin Keqing took her clothes and prepared to go in, but saw Phone 1111 walking twisted and turned. 1111, is your foot okay? Lin Keqing asked with concern. The floor is a bit slippery, and I accidentally twisted my foot in the bathroom just now. Phone 1111 replied. Is it serious? Do you want me to buy some medicine for you? No, I have my own medicine. Phone 1111 went to the pharmacy to buy medicine during the day, but it was just anti-inflammatory medicine, not for sprains and bruises. Do you need my help? No, I can do it myself. Phone 1111 certainly couldn't let Lin Keqing do it for her. Well, okay. Lin Keqing turned and walked into the bathroom. After about a few minutes, Phone 1111 suddenly broke in. Lin Keqing was startled. You're so scared. I forgot something inside. Let me get it. Phone 1111 said. Then knock on the door first. Lin Keqing looked flustered. In order to save money, the two shared a very cheap house. The facilities in the house were a bit old, and the bathroom door was broken and couldn't be locked. Sorry. Phone 1111 smiled and looked at Lin Keqing for a few more times before leaving. In a place where Lin Keqing couldn't see, she even secretly took a few pictures with her mobile phone. Phone 1111 returned to the bedroom, opened V, clicked on the dialog box with the note, Uncle, and then sent out the few photos she had just taken. Wang Zhenxing, who was in the mansion, suddenly heard a message notification sound. Clicking on the message, he found that it was a few photos. The people in the picture blocked the key places, but the beautiful scenery in other places could not be blocked. Isn't this Lin Keqing? Wang Zhenxing immediately recognized her, and while he felt pleasant and surprised, Lin Keqing is more hidden than she looks. She is worthy of being the heroine, and her appearance is simply the best. Why did you send these to me? After appreciating for a while, Wang Zhenxing typed to ask Feng Qianqian. I think you should like it, so I sent it to you. Feng Qianqian explained. She is not a fool. Wang Zhenxing asked her to persuade Lin Keqing to apply for the position of the president's secretary, and she guessed that Wang Zhenxing had ulterior motives. Because she was afraid of losing favor, she took the initiative to do something to please others. Who do you think I am? Don't try to guess my purpose. Just do what I tell you to do. Although he was satisfied with the photos, Wang Zhenxing was afraid that Phone 1111's impolite behavior would lose Lin Keqing's trust. If that was the case, Phone 1111 would lose her greatest value. Yes, I understand. I won't dare to do it again. Phone 1111 was panicked and typed hurriedly to express her opinion. Wang Zhenxing was a little worried. After thinking about it, he sent some messages. Remember, don't talk nonsense. If you reveal something that shouldn't be revealed, you will be in big trouble. Volcano literature. I forgot to tell you that I secretly took a video of our transaction. As long as I edited it a little, erased my appearance, and posted it on the internet, I won't be in trouble, but you will definitely lose your reputation and be despised by others. So, you must remember my advice to you, understand? I understand. I will keep my mouth shut and won't say anything nonsense. Phone 1111's face was pale, and her hands were shaking when editing the message. Host succeeded in his evil deeds, threatened the female supporting actress Phone 1111, and obtained 20 villain Halo points. Chapter 11 Interview. Wang Zhenxing smiled evilly after receiving the system's message. In fact, he had no interest in photography, he just wanted to scare Phone 1111. And Phone 1111 herself was not sure whether Wang Zhenxing had done such a thing at that time. Because it was the first time for Phone 1111, she was very shy, and she was quite involved. So she closed her eyes most of the time during the process. She didn't notice Wang Zhenxing's actions at all. About 5 minutes. Wang Zhenxing received another message. What kind of anime do you like to watch? The message was sent by Phone 1111. Seeing this message, Wang Zhenxing felt puzzled. I don't have the time. Phone 1111, then you must have watched anime before? Just name a few. Wang Zhenxing, Calabash Brothers, Popeye, Sailor Moon. Whether before or after the time travel, Wang Zhenxing was not a young man in his early 20s. These are the ones that left a deep impression on me. Phone 1111 was stunned when she saw the message. She likes cosplay, and she went to comic conventions to cosplay various beautiful female anime characters many times during her college years. She has never cosplayed the anime Wang Zhenxing mentioned. But she has heard of these anime and roughly knows the characters in them. Which character do you like best in Sailor Moon? Phone 1111 asked. The characters in Calabash Brothers and Popeye look weird when cosplayed. There are many beautiful characters in Sailor Moon, and they look good when cosplayed. Sailor Moon. Wang Zhenxing thought about it and replied with 3 words. Phone 1111, well, I understand. Wang Zhenxing, it's inexplicable. Why are you asking these questions? Just asking casually, nothing, I won't bother you. Phone 1111 did not answer Wang Zhenxing's question, but decided to keep it secret and give him a surprise later. After sending this message, the chat ended temporarily. Phone Qianqian opened the online shopping platform and bought a set of Sailor Moon cosplay costumes. Then she bought dozens of pairs of socks in a famous brand sock store. The types include mid-tube socks, calf socks, over-knee socks and high silk socks. In terms of colors, there are even more diverse. Black, white, red, yellow, etc. are all available. It took Phone Qianqian a long time to choose, and her eyes were sore. But there was no way. She was really scared by Wang Zhenxing just now. So Phone Qianqian could only take the initiative to do something. Although she had no experience in love before, Phone Qianqian still learned some strategies from some friends and the internet. Now is the time to put what she has learned into practice. As long as she does her job conscientiously, there is no reason for a boss to target her, right? On the other side. After Lin Keqing finished washing, she received a call from Zhenxing Group. On the phone, she was notified to go for an interview tomorrow. Lin Keqing excitedly agreed. The next morning, She dressed up simply and went out to take the bus to the headquarters building of Zhenxing Group. There were dozens of interviewees in the hall of the Human Resources Department. Among them, there were men and women accounted for the majority. In terms of age, most of them were around 30 years old. These were all applying for the position of the president's secretary. Lin Keqing was in her early 20s, which was considered very young among these people. Generally speaking, the position of the president's secretary of a large company requires people with certain work experience. Few college students who have just graduated or are about to graduate come to apply for this position. Lin Keqing looked around nervously. The few men around had sharp eyes and were elites at first glance. Comparing with these people in terms of business ability, Lin Keqing believed that she was far inferior. Lin Keqing subconsciously compared herself with the women around her. There were many women with good looks and good figures around her. Of course, most of these women relied on makeup to support their beauty. But it was indeed pleasing to the eye. Lin Keqing applied some ordinary face cream when she went out. Although she was naturally beautiful, she didn't look very conspicuous among so many beauties. There were also some women who were dressed boldly. They looked like they were about to burst out. And Lin Keqing. She wore some loose clothes, covering her good figure tightly. Compared with them, she had no advantage at all. So many people are competing for one position, and I am much worse than them in every aspect. How can I have a chance to be selected? Lin Keqing suddenly felt disappointed. Sister, you just graduated from college, right? A woman who was dressed boldly and wearing heavy makeup asked while waiting. Yes, how did you know? Lin Keqing was a little surprised. Of course I guessed it. As a woman, she came to apply for the position of secretary to the president, but she didn't work hard on her clothes. Obviously, she has no social work experience. The woman with heavy makeup explained. For the position of secretary to the president, ability is the first priority. Why do you have to work hard on your clothes? Lin Keqing humbly asked for advice. Haven't you heard a saying? If there is something, the secretary will do it. If there is nothing. The heavily made-up woman gave her a look of, you know. Lin Keqing had naturally heard this saying before. Otherwise, when Feng Qianqian talked about this yesterday, she would not have had the fear of being a potential investor. Zhenxing Group is a formal company. This is unlikely, right? Lin Keqing said uncertainly. So you are young? The heavily made-up woman sneered. After hearing this, Lin Keqing frowned. If it was really like what the woman said, then she really had no interest in this position. About 2 minutes later, a capable male manager with a work badge walked into the interview hall. Those who are dressed frivolously can leave directly. You are eliminated. After the male manager glanced at the interviewees in the hall, he found that there were many women dressed boldly, and immediately declared majestically. This remark caused dissatisfaction and protests from some female interviewees present. What do you think this place is? Is it a small company of the lowest class? This is Zhenxing Group, recruiting capable secretaries. You are dressed up in fancy clothes. What are you going to do here? Do you want to seduce our president? Why don't you go and find out who our president Wang is? Let me tell you that the previous secretary of the president was a man. So, put away your crooked thoughts. The male manager scolded those who were dissatisfied and protested. In the original plot, Wang Zhenxing was originally a supporting role in the protagonist camp. In terms of character and image, he is absolutely brilliant. Everyone in the company praised him. Even the cleaning lady in the company building would give a thumbs up when talking about President Wang. After hearing the words of the male manager, the dissatisfied voices gradually stopped and left one after another with regret. There were a few women dressed unrestrainedly, shamelessly staying. The male manager directly pointed at them and asked them to leave. The number of women who came to their hall to apply for jobs soon decreased by more than half. Lin Ku couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief when he saw this situation. It seemed that his previous worries were completely unnecessary. This was a formal company, and they were hiring proper secretaries. What was he thinking about just now? Why would he worry about being seduced? Besides, he had met Mr. Wang before. He helped him solve his problems without asking for anything in return. I actually speculated about others? I really shouldn't do that. Besides, I probably won't get the job. But I should finish what I started and make the best of it. Even if I don't get the job, at least I can gain some interview experience. Lin Keqing relaxed and waited calmly for the next interview. Chapter 12: Successful Recruitment. Without any expectations, Lin Keqing was not nervous anymore. During the second round of interviews, she maintained a good attitude and remained calm when the interviewer asked questions to assess her abilities. Lin Keqing's academic performance in college has always been excellent and she received scholarships every year. Theoretical things are not difficult for her at all. When the second round of interviews was completed, many people were eliminated. Only 5 people were left. Lin Keqing was one of the 5. The other 4 people who passed were all a little surprised when they saw the slightly immature Lin Keqing. Even Lin Keqing herself felt it was incredible. Our company has never used experience as a criterion for recruitment. Our president also said that people with a lot of work experience in the workplace tend to be too rigid in their thinking, while people with little work experience may perform unexpectedly. Those of you who have passed, those with more experience should not be too happy too soon, and those without more experience should not be discouraged. An interviewer noticed the emotions of several interviewees and said these words in a very serious tone. This was not something Wang Zhenxing had said in advance, but rather the Zhenxing Group's recruitment principles have always been like this. You know, Wang Zhenxing was originally a supporting role in the Protagonist camp. In the eyes of all employees of Zhenxing Group, his image is great and glorious. Especially some of the veterans who followed Wang Zhenxing in the early days of starting a business, they have reached a point of fanatical worship for him. Soon, the final round of interviews came. President's office. Wang Zhenxing was checking some documents when a female deputy manager from the Human Resources Department knocked on the door and walked in to report on the interview with the president's secretary. Wang Zhenxing is not participating in today's interview. Even the interview process was not designed by him, but followed the interview process of the Human Resources Department. Oh, a college student who is about to graduate with a degree in business administration actually got the highest interview score. After listening to the female deputy manager's report, Wang Zhenxing was a little surprised, but also felt it was natural. Although he did not participate in the interview process, as the president, he certainly knew the interview process of the Human Resources Department. All positions in Zhenxing Group, including the secretary position, must pass a test when recruiting. That is the character test. As a group full of positive energy, the company will never tolerate employees with poor moral character. Of course, this character test is conducted secretly, not openly. Except for the internal staff of Zhenxing Group, other people who came for the interview didn't even know that there was such a process. This character test is conducted on the interviewee's way to the interview room during the final round of interview. Interviewers may encounter these things while on the road. When passing through a corridor, there may be a trash can overturned on the ground, or a cleaning lady may sprain her foot, etc. As a heroine from a poor family, Lin Keqing must possess kindness. When she went to the interview room, she met a female employee who was dizzy due to hypoglycemia. Lin Keqing's way of handling the situation illustrates what it means for a fool to ruin his own future in order to help others. But in fact, fools have good fortune. The character test accounts for a large proportion of the entire interview score. Although Lin Keqing was a college student who was about to graduate, she performed relatively well in answering theoretical questions and received a good score. It is reasonable to get the best interview score in the end. Mr. Wang, in your opinion, who should we choose for the secretary position? Asked the female deputy manager. Under normal circumstances, the person with the highest interview score will undoubtedly get the job. However, since the position of secretary mainly serves the president, it is still necessary to ask Wang Zhenxing's opinion. Wang Zhenxing had anticipated this. He guessed that Lin Keqing would make it to the final round of interviews, but he did not expect that Lin Keqing's interview score would be the highest. I had originally prepared a reason in advance to make an exception and hire Lin Keqing as a newcomer, but now it is of no use. According to the company's rules, we will follow the normal process. Wang Zhenxing responded solemnly to the female deputy manager. Yes, Mr. Wang. The female deputy manager nodded, quietly left the office and closed the door. Human Resources Department. Lin Keqing and the other 4 interviewees were waiting for the results. The other 4 interviewees were all qualified people with more than 5 years of experience in related work. They were all quite confident and felt that they could get the job. On the other hand, Lin Keqing is also quite confident. But she was confident that she would not be admitted. Because in the final round of interviews, she was late and made the 3 interviewers wait for a long time. The 3 interviewers had gloomy faces the entire time they were asking questions. In this case, there is definitely no chance. The reason I continue to wait here is just out of courtesy. At this moment, Lin Keqing was even thinking about what to eat after leaving here. Because she got up too early in the morning, she hadn't had breakfast yet and her stomach was almost starving. Who is Lin Keqing? An employee from the Human Resources Department came over and asked several people who were waiting for the interview results. Yes. Lin Keqing immediately raised her hand in response, thinking that she could finally leave. What should she eat later? You are hired. The HR staff announced the interview results. I'm eliminated. Then I can leave. Wait, what did you just say? Lin Keqing reacted halfway through her sentence. You have been hired. Report to the Human Resources Department as soon as possible, the employee continued. I'm hired. Lin Keqing found it a little unbelievable. How could a graduating senior like me stand out from so many experienced applicants and become the secretary of the president of a large company? This is really magical. Not only Lin Keqing was surprised, the other 4 interviewees were also surprised. Upon hearing this result, the other 4 people immediately raised questions. I want to know why I was not hired. The HR employee didn't want to explain, and couldn't explain. Because he also didn't know why Lin Keqing was hired. The 4 people who were not hired refused to give in and said that there was something fishy going on. At this time, the deputy manager of the Human Resources Department came over. In terms of work experience, you are indeed quite excellent, but as a company, you need to be responsible and accountable. No matter how other companies do it, in our Zhenxing group, responsibility and accountability are more important than qualifications and experience. Our president Wang often says that you can make money again, but if you lose your conscience, har har. The deputy manager of the Human Resources Department did not finish his words, but sneered at the 4 people. When the 4 noisy people heard this, they recalled the situation on their way to the interview room during the last round of interviews. They suddenly realized why they were not hired. You can make money again if you lose it, but if you lose your conscience, what will happen next? Although it's not complete, this sentence sounds very positive. I seem to have come to the right place. The atmosphere of this company is so good. Mr. Wang is really amazing. Lin Keqing remained silent, feeling a deep admiration for Mr. Wang in her heart. Heroine Lin Keqing's favorability towards the host increases by +2, and the current total favorability is 37 friendly. The host intercepted the protagonist Xin Yi and asked the heroine Lin Keqing to work, affecting the plot. The protagonist Xin Yi's luck value was 30, and the host's luck value was +30. Chapter 13, Strict Teachers Produce Excellent Students. Wang Zhenxing, who was sitting in the office, received 2 messages from the system. This made him feel somewhat happy. The benefits of improving the heroine's favorability are self-evident. And while hiring Lin Keqing, it actually affected the direction of the plot. It's not hard to guess. Lin Keqing is very capable in managing a company. In the original plot, she should have worked for Qin Yi and helped Qin Yi make a lot of money. But now this original plot will definitely not happen. Wang Zhenxing has already hired Lin Keqing, so Qin Yi has nothing to do with it. All in all, this was the first time that Wang Zhenxing gained luck points. He had not gained any luck points from the 2 female supporting characters, Xu Yiru and Feng Qianqian, before. Lin Keqing is truly worthy of being the heroine. Putting his thoughts aside, Wang Zhenxing continued to devote himself to his work. Being a company president is actually very busy. Wang Zhenxing currently doesn't even have a secretary, and he needs to handle many matters personally. But it will only be a few busy days at most. After Lin Keqing joined the company, Wang Zhenxing planned to let her take over the company's affairs as soon as possible. Wang Zhenxing only wants to work for 1 hour every day, and then use the rest of the time for entertainment and to get rewards from the heroine and supporting actresses. Since he has chosen to become a villain, it is inevitable that he will fall out with the protagonist Qin Yi in the future. The protagonist and the villain are like natural enemies, only one can survive. Wang Zhenxing wanted to make himself stronger as soon as possible before Qin Yi appeared on the scene. Only then will we have the capital to fight against it. 2 days later. 9 o'clock in the evening. After get off work, Wang Zhenxing came to a restaurant. Feng Qianqian had been waiting early. Uncle is here. Seeing Wang Zhenxing appear, Feng Qianqian greeted him with a sweet smile and immediately stood up and moved a stool away. After Wang Zhenxing sat down, she poured him a cup of tea. 11:11, did your trip to the TV station go smoothly today? Wang Zhenxing took the tea to moisten his throat, looked at her with the eyes of an elder looking at a younger person, and asked her with concern. Since you, uncle, gave me advance notice, everything went smoothly. I was assigned to intern in a children's program at the station. Feng Qianqian replied. I've talked to my friend who's the deputy station manager. You have a cute and sweet image and should be very popular with kids. That program is short of a female host. You should accumulate some work experience first. As long as you work harder, you can host the show later. Wang Zhenxing looked kind and spoke slowly to Feng Qianqian. Thank you, uncle. I will definitely live up to your expectations. Feng Qianqian said excitedly. Wang Zhenxing nodded. Introducing Feng 1111 to the TV station was not only to find a job that matched her professional background, but also to allow Feng 1111 to maximize her value. As an official media, the TV station has considerable power. Wang Zhenxing can use this to learn some official information. After all, he used his connections to introduce this job to Feng Qianqian, which was a favor. If Feng Qianqian went there just to kill time, it would be a bit not worth it. There has to be some follow-up payoff, right? After chatting for a while, the food came. During the meal, Wang Zhenxing asked Feng Qianqian about the situation of Lin Keqing's parents. Keqing's father is a farmer in the countryside, and her mother is a nanny in a wealthy family in Qingling. Feng Qianqian replied. Do you know where that rich family is? The countryside is too far away and Wang Zhenxing is unwilling to go there. It would obviously be more convenient to start from Lin Keqing's mother. There is a saying that goes, if you want to win over a woman, you must first win over her mother-in-law. I don't know, but I can ask her, said Feng Qianqian. No need. Wang Zhenxing shook his head. If Feng Qianqian asked rashly, Lin Keqing might find it strange. Wang Zhenxing still thought it would be better for him to check it out himself. Lin Keqing has completed the employment procedures and should officially start her internship tomorrow. When entering the job, you need to fill in the names of your parents and other information. Name, engaged in housekeeping industry. From these two pieces of information, we can find out where Lin Keqing's mother works. Of course, most people can't do this. But as the boss of a large company, Wang Zhenxing has a lot of connections, so it is not difficult to achieve this. The next morning, Wang Zhenxing came to the office a little listless. Good morning, Mr. Wang. Lin Keqing, dressed in a professional suit, came up to Wang Zhenxing and greeted him politely. Wang Zhenxing only felt his eyes brighten. The professional attire adds a sense of maturity to Lin Keqing, forming a sharp contrast with the remaining youthfulness on her face. The combination of maturity and youthfulness gives Lin Keqing a unique charm. Although he admired her, Wang Zhenxing still looked very serious on the surface. I don't know how the people in the Human Resources Department are selected, but since you were hired, you should at least have some ability. I hope you won't let me down. Lin Keqing was a little scared by the majestic aura that she had developed from being the CEO for a long time. Yes, Mr. Wang, I will do my best. He looked at Wang Zhenxing carefully and continued. You don't look well. Did you not get enough rest last night? Hearing this, Wang Zhenxing was stunned for a moment. He had tried his best to cheer himself up, but unexpectedly someone still saw through his clues. Indeed, he didn't get enough rest last night, and Sailor Moon is still on his mind. This is all Feng Qianqian's fault. No wonder I asked him what kind of anime he liked to watch a few days ago. It turns out it was premeditated. However, although it was premeditated, Wang Zhenxing still liked it quite a lot. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten enough rest. After correcting his mind, Wang Zhenxing said solemnly to Lin Keqing. The previous secretary left a while ago. The company's affairs are quite heavy, and I often handle them until midnight. I hope you can get started as soon as possible during your internship. Otherwise, I will consider hiring a new secretary. Yes, I will try my best. Lin Keqing said in panic. Please make me a cup of coffee, and then I'll tell you what you're going to do today. Okay. Lin Keqing nodded. When she started working, an employee helped her get familiar with the company's environment. After leaving the office, she went to the tea room to busy herself for a while and soon came back with a cup of coffee. After taking a few sips of coffee to refresh himself, Wang Zhenxing began to assign work to Lin Keqing. The president's office is very large, with a toilet and a lounge, as well as a cubicle for the secretary. There is a reason why misunderstandings are easy to occur between presidents and their secretaries. Of course, for now, Nothing has happened in Wang Zhenxing's office that is not worth telling outsiders. After Wang Zhenxing finished his arrangements, Lin Keqing went to the cubicle to work. Although she had excellent professional grades during college, Lin Keqing still felt overwhelmed when she actually took over the job. There are many things that you cannot learn in college. When Lin Keqing encountered something she didn't understand, she had no choice but to bite the bullet and ask Wang Zhenxing. It's just like when you were in school and asked the teacher when you encountered questions you didn't understand. However, Wang Zhenxing is not a kind teacher. After Wang Zhenxing taught something similar once, he didn't have the patience to teach it a second time. Although Lin Keqing is excellent, she is not always able to draw inferences from one example. At the end of a day's work, Lin Keqing was scolded at least 20 times. As the saying goes, a strict teacher produces excellent students. Wang Zhenxing was ruthless and scolded Lin Keqing harshly on her first day of work. Of course, despite all the criticism, Wang Zhenxing still did a good job in it. Even though I scolded Lin Keqing so many times, I didn't receive any news that Lin Keqing's favorability rating had dropped. However, it was inevitable that Lin Keqing felt aggrieved, and she even cried secretly in the cubicle. The host scolds the heroine Lin Keqing and gains 40 villain aura points. It's worth my while. Wang Zhenxing happily accepted the reward. Chapter 14 Conscientious Enterprise. After a day's work, Wang Zhenxing found a place to have dinner. Because I had important things to do, I didn't ask Feng Qianqian to accompany me for dinner today. During the day while at work, Wang Zhenxing took some time to look at the personal information that Lin Keqing filled out when she joined the company, and learned that Lin Keqing's mother was Liu Fang. Wang Zhenxing used his connections to find out some information about Liu Fang from a housekeeping company. After solving the dinner problem, he went to a private detective agency and hired someone to investigate Liu Fang's daily activities. Money makes things easier. About 2 days later, I received the news. Looking at the content sent by the private detective on his mobile phone, Wang Zhenxing quickly came up with a plan in his mind. As for Lin Keqing, she was still scolded on a daily basis. But the number of times I got scolded was much less than on my first day at work. As the saying goes, a strict teacher produces excellent students. The result of Wang Zhenxing's scolding was that it accelerated Lin Keqing's growth in the workplace. Although she has only been working for a few days, Lin Keqing is now able to handle some simple company affairs. Wang Zhenxing's workload was reduced a lot and he became much more relaxed. At least I wasn't disappointed. I did a pretty good job. As the get-off work was about to end, Wang Zhenxing reviewed the documents processed by Lin Keqing and smiled with satisfaction. Lin Keqing was stunned for a moment. This was the first time her boss spoke to her in such a friendly manner since she started working there, and she felt a little flattered. "This is all thanks to your good teaching, Mr. Wang." Lin Keqing replied stiffly. "I've been scolding you these days. You don't feel resentful, do you?" Wang Zhenxing asked tentatively. "Boss, you are doing this for my own good. Of course I won't hold any grudges." Lin Keqing shook her head. Although she was scolded these days, she learned a lot. As an honest and kind-hearted heroine, how could she not be able to tell good from evil? Wang Zhenxing looked at the gold watch on his wrist and said, "It's time to get off work now. There's no need to distinguish between superiors and subordinates. You don't have to be so serious. You can treat me as an ordinary friend." "How can this be possible? In my eyes, you are not only my boss, but also my teacher and elder. How dare I treat you as an ordinary friend?" Lin Keqing hurriedly shook her head and said seriously. Wang Zhenxing was stunned for a moment when he saw her reaction, and then he laughed. There is an age difference between the two, more than 10 years, and there is also the relationship of superior and subordinate. It was normal for Lin Keqing to not dare to consider him as a friend. Wang Zhenxing was not in a hurry either. Although he is 37 years old, he still looks very young. There is no sense of incongruity when going shopping hand in hand with a young girl. We look like a young couple. Lin Keqing is his secretary now, and there will be many opportunities for them to spend time together in the future. Wang Zhenxing has plenty of ways to change Lin Keqing's attitude. "By the way, Mr. Wang, during the interview, I heard from my colleagues that you often say something, but I didn't hear it all. You can make money again if you don't have a conscience. What's the next sentence?" Lin Keqing suddenly remembered a question she had before and suddenly sought an answer. Hearing this, Wang Zhenxing subconsciously wanted to answer, "If you lose your conscience, of course you can earn more." However, in order to maintain a positive image, he could only say solemnly, "If you lose your conscience, you will be punished." As an entrepreneur, you must have a sense of social responsibility and a conscience. These words are very powerful. Lin Keqing couldn't help but feel deep admiration when she heard this. Is this the reason why you still insist on doing charity even though the company's performance has been declining in recent years? Having helped to deal with company matters these days, she also got to know the general situation of the company. Zhenxing Group is keen on charity. Even though the company's performance has gradually declined in recent years, the funds invested in charity have not decreased at all. Yes. Wang Zhenxing said stubbornly. Mr. Wang, you are so great. Lin Keqing felt a little excited and thought it was her honor to work in such a conscientious company. Lin Keqing's favorability towards the host increases by +3, and the current total favorability is 40 close. The host influences the plot direction and obtains 200 counterattack points. The protagonist Xin Yi's luck value is 40, and the host's luck value is +40. Wang Zhenxing soon received 2 messages. If he had a choice, he would actually like to go against his conscience and make a little more money so that he could buy a better car and house. But the company's positive and glorious corporate culture is there, and it is not something that Wang Zhenxing can change at will. Even if Wang Zhenxing is the president and chairman. As for the company's declining performance in recent years, it is not a problem of operation, but rather due to suppression. When it comes down to it, this matter is all Qin Yi's credit. Because Qin Yi offended a super-rich second generation, Wang Zhenxing protected Qin Yi's mother Xu Yiru, which led to the company being suppressed. The mother of that super-rich second generation is a strong woman and the richest woman in Qingling. Wang Zhenxing had contacted him before and wanted to mediate the matter, but the other party did not give him any face at all. If things go as expected, the rich second generation and his mother should both be villains. If my villain aura is high, can I find a chance to recruit them? Wang Zhenxing had a sudden idea. The richest woman's husband died at a young age and she has been single for many years. She is about the same age as Xu Yiru, and she has maintained herself quite well and is very beautiful. 8 o'clock in the evening. Lin Keqing and Feng Qianqian made an appointment to have dinner together. In order to make it more convenient for her to go to work and to see Wang Zhenxing more easily, Feng Qianqian has found another house and moved out. The two hadn't seen each other for several days. During the meal, the two exchanged information about their respective work situations and found out that each other was doing well at work, so they congratulated each other. Hey, 1111, what's wrong with your knees? Lin Keqing noticed that her good friend's knees were red while having a meal, so she asked with concern. I accidentally fell. Feng Qianqian replied with a smile, and then immediately changed the subject, saying, Keqing, I really envy you for being able to work with Qingling's famous bachelor. Just looking at such a handsome face every day, I guess you must be in a good mood, right? When Feng Qianqian said this, her eyes were full of envy. There is nothing impeccable about Wang Zhenxing's appearance, it fits her aesthetic taste perfectly and she likes him from the bottom of her heart. When I was at work during the day, Wang Zhenxing's figure often appeared in my mind. In Feng Qianqian's case, she is like a girl who has just started a relationship and is very obsessed with her boyfriend. After not seeing each other for a while, I felt like I wanted to be with my lover all the time. Chapter 15 Traffic Jam. Let's not talk about whether I feel good or not. I was just walking on thin ice, afraid that I would be scolded if I didn't do well. But I am still very grateful to him. He is really amazing. Although I only worked with him for a few days, I really learned a lot from him. Lin Keqing responded to Feng Qianqian's words. Well, then you study hard and work hard. I wish you can get a regular job as soon as possible. I've heard that the annual salary of the secretary to the president of Zhenxing Group is at least 700,000. Feng Qianqian said. I don't dare to think about becoming a regular employee, but I will work hard. Although modest, Lin Keqing also felt some anticipation in her heart. An annual salary of 700,000 was something she had never thought of before. When she was studying, the goal she set for herself was to have a monthly salary of 20,000 yuan after working for 5 years. Early morning. Wang Zhenxing left the mansion and did not go to the company immediately. Instead, he drove a Bentley to a vegetable market. According to information obtained from a private detective, Lin Keqing's mother Liu Fang comes here to buy vegetables early every morning. Wang Zhenxing had a sudden inspiration, so he came to see the environment here in person. The roads near the vegetable market were a bit crowded early in the morning. The Bentley was stuck on the road and it took a long time to move some distance. The traffic jam was finally about to end, but there seemed to be an accident ahead. As a result, it was blocked again. Seeing this, the driver got out of the car and went to the front to check the situation. "Boss, someone fainted on the zebra crossing ahead, blocking the road. It looks like the road will be blocked for a while." The driver came back to report. "There's such a long traffic jam ahead that even if an ambulance comes, it will be stuck. Is there no one going to help?" Wang Zhenxing asked. "Who would dare to help these days?" asked the driver. Wang Zhenxing nodded. "Indeed, these days, unless one is extremely wealthy, who would dare to help someone on the street?" I glanced at the gold watch on my wrist and realized it was almost time to go to work. As a boss, it is certainly impossible for Wang Zhenxing to be deducted money for being late for work. It's not a big deal if you're stuck in traffic all the time. Wang Zhenxing got out of the car and looked ahead. Of course, he didn't want to help anyone, he just wanted to see if the road could be cleared to allow his car to pass. After a while, Wang Zhenxing came to the zebra crossing where someone had fainted. There were many people watching the excitement around, but no one dared to step forward to help. There was an old lady carrying vegetables who approached the fainted person. Looking at the old lady's actions, it seemed that she wanted to help, but she was a little scared. After struggling for a while, the aunt made a decision, put the vegetables in her hand on the side of the road, and prepared to help the person. The person who fainted was a plump woman in her 50s, and she had lost consciousness. Liu Fang can't help it alone. Is there anyone who can help me? Liu Fang asked the people around her. No one answered. Wang Zhenxing didn't pay much attention at first, but when he saw the old lady's appearance, he felt that she looked familiar. I took out my cell phone, opened the photo sent by the private detective, and compared it with that of the old lady. Lin Keqing's mother? Wang Zhenxing was stunned for a moment, then a smile appeared on his face. Born in the countryside and being the mother of the heroine Lin Keqing, Liu Fang is indeed very kind. She even dared to help someone who fainted on the road. Seeing that no one around seemed willing to help, Liu Fang gritted her teeth and stomped her feet, preparing to carry the fainted woman by herself. At this moment, Wang Zhenxing stepped forward to stop them and kindly reminded them, "Don't move her first. Some of the injured are in special conditions. If you move them at will, it may cause secondary injuries." Is that so? Liu Fang saw that he was well dressed and obviously a successful man, so she naturally did not doubt his words and was immediately shocked. Wang Zhenxing knew some basic first aid knowledge, so he checked on the woman's condition. It was determined that the woman was breathing and had no injuries. After checking it out, Wang Zhenxing breathed a sigh of relief. Because there's no need to help with artificial respiration or anything like that. It's so congested here that even an ambulance can't get in. Please lend a hand. I'll carry her out. Wang Zhenxing said to Liu Fang. Yeah, okay. Liu Fang nodded rapidly and helped support Wang Zhenxing in carrying the fainted woman. The fainted woman was estimated to weigh nearly 180 pounds, which was quite heavy. Fortunately, Wang Zhenxing is in good shape and can withstand it. Wang Zhenxing's driver came over and wanted to carry the person for his boss. However, Wang Zhenxing refused. Since he wanted to make a good impression, of course he had to do it in person. After about 5 minutes, Wang Zhenxing carried the person to the front of the congested road and handed him over to the paramedics. The emergency call was made by Liu Fang. After picking up the person, the paramedics asked for 200 yuan in fees. Is there still a charge? Liu Fang took the money to buy vegetables. After buying the vegetables, she only had a dozen yuan left. The ambulance is not free. Wang Zhenxing explained and generously paid 200 yuan for the ambulance fee and also advanced 3,000 yuan for the medical expenses. After receiving the money, the ambulance quickly took the person away. Young man, you are such a kind person. Liu Fang looked at Wang Zhenxing with kindness. Young man. Wang Zhenxing was a little amused. The information Lin Keqing filled out included not only her mother's name, but also her age. Liu Fang looks like she is only 39 years old. Actually, Wang Zhenxing is only 3 years younger than her. However, Wang Zhenxing looks much younger than he actually is, and Liu Fang used to do farm work in the countryside, exposed to the wind and sun, so she naturally aged faster. In comparison, the two looked like they were of different generations. Auntie, you are very kind-hearted. There were so many people there just now, but you were the only one who dared to step forward to help the fainted woman. There are not many people who dare to help others on the road these days. Wang Zhenxing did not correct it either. Although she is of a different generation from Liu Fang, she is of the same generation as Lin Keqing. Just right. I didn't think too much about it at the time. I saw the man fainted on the road and there was no movement, so I went to take a look. Liu Fang has also heard of cases where kind-hearted people helped others and then were blackmailed. Thinking about what I did just now, I can't help but feel a little scared. If this kind of thing really happens, it will probably cause trouble for the child. But if Liu Fang were given another chance, she would still do the same. Auntie, I still have to go to work, so I'm leaving first. Having already made a good impression, Wang Zhenxing didn't continue chatting. Okay, I have to go back and make breakfast for my employer. Liu Fang also realized that she still had vegetables on the roadside. The congested road sections gradually resumed traffic. Wang Zhenxing came to Zhenxing Group in a Bentley. Bang! A stack of documents a foot high was suddenly placed on Lin Keqing's desk. Wang Zhenxing gave an order in a dignified manner: read these documents in the morning, sort them out, and report to me in a concise manner. Finishing processing so many documents in one morning. Lin Keqing trembled. Any questions? Yes, can you add one more afternoon? Lin Keqing bargained weakly. You have other things to do this afternoon, so accompany me to meet a business partner. Wang Zhenxing said. Lin Keqing thought she was not very good at speaking, and her eyes widened after hearing this. Wang Zhenxing looked at her expressionlessly. Okay, boss. As you command. Lin Keqing knew that this was the prelude to her boss's scolding, so she quickly responded as a conditioned reflex. Chapter 16 Foodie Lin Keqing. Seeing Lin Keqing's reaction, Wang Zhenxing nodded secretly. After these days of instruction, the young secretary almost obeyed orders regarding work matters. This situation is exactly what Wang Zhenxing wants to see. Lin Keqing was busy the whole morning. It was almost noon when he barely finished processing the documents and gave a concise report to Wang Zhenxing. Not bad, I thought you couldn't finish it. Wang Zhenxing nodded with satisfaction. Hearing the praise, Lin Keqing immediately showed a happy smile, feeling full of sense of accomplishment, and raised the corners of her mouth with pride. This demanding boss doesn't praise people easily. It's really not easy to receive a compliment from him. Lin Keqing had no emotional experience and didn't know that this situation was actually very dangerous. When a woman is so easily moved by a man's emotions, she is likely to fall in love. Afternoon. Wang Zhenxing took Lin Keqing to meet with business partners to discuss the issue of contract renewal. Zhenxing Group mainly produces daily chemical products such as shampoo, shower gel, etc., and needs to establish long-term cooperative relationships with some supermarket chains. This time, it is because the contract with a supermarket chain has expired, so we are negotiating the renewal. Lin Keqing brought relevant information and accompanied Wang Zhenxing to meet the company's partners. When negotiating the contract renewal, Wang Zhenxing would occasionally let Lin Keqing speak. Lin Keqing had never had this kind of work experience before and was a little nervous. The contract renewal discussion lasted for several hours. The bargaining mainly revolves around the purchase price. But in the end, the renewal ended in failure. When Wang Zhenxing and Lin Keqing came outside, it was dark. Boss, I'm sorry. It's all my fault because of my poor business skills. Seeing that Wang Zhenxing's face was a little gloomy, Lin Keqing shrank her neck and apologized timidly. Wang Zhenxing glanced at her indifferently and said nothing. Lin Keqing has just arrived at the company and doesn't he quite understand some of the situations. In fact, the failure to negotiate a contract renewal had nothing to do with Lin Keqing's business ability. Instead, there are other daily chemical companies that deliberately incur losses to reduce the prices of daily chemical products, shrinking the profit margin of Zhenxing Group and even making Zhenxing Group unprofitable. From the perspective of chain supermarkets, when the quality, reputation and popularity of the products are very different, they will of course choose the cheaper product. This kind of renewal failure has occurred several times this year. If this situation continues, Zhenxing Group's revenue will become worse and worse, and it is possible that it will eventually face bankruptcy. The person behind all this is the son of the richest woman in Qingling. Wang Zhenxing knew that there was no chance of winning if he fought head-on. After all, the other party's assets are worth hundreds of billions, and I can't compare with them in terms of spending money. But there is still a chance to turn the situation around. As the saying goes, to catch a thief, first catch the leader. If you take down that mother, will you still be afraid that her son will not be obedient? Wang Zhenxing began to think about some things in his mind, but he was not in a hurry to take action. To fight against foreign aggression, we must first stabilize the internal situation. It is better to deal with the things around us first. Boss, can I do anything for you? Seeing that Wang Zhenxing had not spoken for a long time, Lin Keqing spoke again. Please treat me to something to eat, said Wang Zhenxing. Lin Keqing's eyes widened, but she didn't dare to refute, so she could only bite the bullet and say yes. How can she afford to treat her boss to a meal with that little salary she earns? I'm afraid that if you just eat a random meal, you'll go bankrupt, right? Wang Zhenxing did not take a car, but walked along the road. Lin Keqing followed silently. After walking for a while, we passed by a food stall. Let's do it here. Wang Zhenxing sat down at an empty table in the food stall and ordered something skillfully. Lin Keqing looked at him in disbelief, as if she had not expected the boss to be so down to earth, and as if she wanted to get to know him a little better. Boss, are you used to the food? Lin Keqing asked a little worriedly. What's there to be uncomfortable with? It's not like I haven't suffered before. I used to come to places like this often. There was a hint of nostalgia in Wang Zhenxing's tone. Upon hearing this, Lin Keqing immediately felt close to the boss and happily ordered some food. Heroine Lin Keqing's favorability towards the host increases by 5, and the current total favorability is 45 close. The host influences the plot direction and obtains 300 counterattack points. The protagonist Xin Yi's luck value is 50, and the host's luck value is plus 50. Wang Zhenxing smiled secretly. Does he really like eating at food stalls? Of course not. This food stall is doing pretty good business, with more than a dozen tables of customers. Most of the customers are young people, some of whom have tattoos and look like street urchins. It would be easy for a pretty girl to get into trouble if she came to a place like this to eat. When Lin Keqing came here, her outstanding appearance immediately attracted the attention of some young people. Of course, at the moment, they just noticed it, and no one came over to chat with me or anything like that. Lin Keqing herself is unaware of this, and her attention is all on her boss. She is trying every possible way to alleviate his negative emotions caused by the failure of contract renewal. However, Lin Keqing was not very good at comforting people, and she couldn't think of any good solution after thinking for a long time. After a while, the food they ordered was served. 2 bowls of fried noodles and a table full of barbecue. Boss, please eat something. When I was in a bad mood, I liked to eat. I turned my depression into food. When I was full, my mood would get better. Lin Keqing looked at the table full of things, her heart moved, and she suddenly said to Wang Zhenxing with relief. Are you stupid? What does contract renewal have to do with eating? If I eat more, do I think I can renew my contract? Wang Zhenxing glanced at her. Lin Keqing shrank her fair neck, a little embarrassed. Well, that's true, boss, I really don't know how to comfort people. How about you scold me a few times? If that can make you feel better. Hearing this, Wang Zhenxing looked at her in surprise. Did he scold Lin Keqing too much recently, causing her to suffer from Stockholm Syndrome? She actually let me scold her? If scolding doesn't make me feel better, can you let me hit you a few times? Wang Zhenxing followed her words. Are this? Lin Keqing was embarrassed. What are you talking about? You're so stupid. Eat something quickly. Wang Zhenxing said unhappily. Lin Keqing then realized that Wang Zhenxing was joking. She smiled foolishly, picked up the food on the table and started eating. After a busy day, she was almost starving. You know, she is a big foodie. My biggest hobby is eating delicious food. In about half an hour, all the food on the table was gone. Most of the food went into Lin Keqing's stomach. Wang Zhenxing looked at Lin Keqing in surprise, and glanced at her rugged parts inadvertently, thinking, no wonder she's grown so big, she can eat so much. Chapter 17, Fighter Lao Wang. Boss, why are you looking at me? Lin Keqing noticed the way he was looking at me. Look at what you can eat. Wang Zhenxing said. It's okay. Lin Keqing blushed and lowered her head in embarrassment. Wang Zhenxing looked at her rosy and beautiful face, and his heart was moved. However, he did not look at her for too long. Instead, he glanced at some of the street vendors in the food stalls, as if thinking about something. Looking at all the urban cool novels, the heroines are usually troublemakers, and trouble follows them wherever they go. Once the heroine gets into trouble, the protagonist will appear in time to help the heroine solve the trouble and win the favor of the protagonist. And now that Lin Keqing has been staying in the food stall for so long, why don't those street urchins come to harass her? Lin Keqing is not pretty enough? This is obviously not the case. Is it because the protagonist did not appear that this kind of plot did not happen? Or is it that the reason lies with oneself? In the plot of a cool novel, when the heroine goes out to eat or go to a place like a bar, the guys who come to harass her are usually minor villains. Wang Zhenxing himself is a villain, possessing the aura of a villain, and has a suppressive and deterrent effect on minor villains. He deliberately brought Lin Keqing to the food stall to eat, hoping that a hero would save a damsel in distress might happen. But now they were almost done eating, and not a single street kid came over to talk to Lin Keqing. It's too noisy here. I'm going to find a quiet place to make an important call. Wang Zhenxing decided to do an experiment. He gestured to Lin Keqing with his cell phone and left her sight. However, Wang Zhenxing did not go far. After walking for a distance, he observed Lin Keqing in the dark. Sure enough, about 5 minutes after Wang Zhenxing left, a young man who had noticed Lin Keqing a long time ago could no longer hold back and came to Lin Keqing's side. "Beauty, have your companions left? It must be so boring to be alone. Come and sit with us." The young man with dyed yellow hair said to Lin Keqing, holding a glass of wine. "Thank you, but no thanks." Even from a distance, Lin Keqing could smell the alcohol. She frowned and replied with some disgust. "My friend over there is watching me. Please give me some face and give me your number." "I will leave right away," said the yellow-haired young man. "I don't know you, why should I give you your contact information?" Lin Keqing refused. "Xiao Wang, if you can't do it, come back and don't embarrass yourself." "That's right, people don't want to bother with you at all." The yellow-haired young man's companions were watching not far away and suddenly started to make a fuss. Hearing the booing, the yellow-haired young man felt embarrassed. "Beauty, you heard it all. You can just pretend, otherwise I will be embarrassed." "Whether you are embarrassed or not has nothing to do with me, please go away." Lin Keqing is still very principled. She is not a smooth and worldly person and is unwilling to cooperate in any performance. After all, she didn't know the other person. What's more, this yellow-haired young man gives people a feeling of disgust. Lin Keqing didn't even want to talk to the other party, and of course she wouldn't agree to such a thing. The yellow-haired young man's companions continued to make a fuss behind him. The yellow-haired young man was a little embarrassed, so he said to Lin Keqing sternly, "You don't give me any face at all." Lin Keqing ignored him. "If you don't accept my toast, I'll punish you." The yellow-haired young man had drunk a little bit of wine and was a little drunk. Seeing that Lin Keqing was not cooperating, he stepped forward and wanted to slap her in the face. "What?" A shout came from a distance. However, Wang Zhenxing saw that the time was almost right and hurried out to stop it. Lin Keqing was frightened by the yellow-haired young man's behavior and her face turned pale. When she saw Wang Zhenxing coming, she subconsciously hid behind him for protection. Wang Zhenxing has a perfect body. No matter from which angle you look at it, it is extremely beautiful. Lin Keqing was standing behind him at this moment, looking at this tall and majestic figure, and a strong sense of security rose in her heart. Subconsciously, she moved again and got closer to Wang Zhenxing. "I didn't do anything. I just invited your friend to have a drink. Since she doesn't want to drink, forget it." Seeing that Wang Zhenxing was dressed in fancy clothes and had an extraordinary aura, the yellow-haired young man was a little hesitant to provoke him and restrained his arrogance. "Did I let you go?" Wang Zhenxing called him. Just now, this yellow-haired young man wanted to raise his hand to hit someone. Lin Keqing must be angry. How could Wang Zhenxing let the yellow-haired young man go so easily? Besides, he had waited for a long time for this opportunity. "So what else do you want?" asked the yellow-haired young man. "You are wearing cheap clothes worth hundreds of dollars, holding a glass of wine worth more than $10, and you look ugly. You don't even look in the mirror to see what you look like. You actually want to chat up my friend. Are you worthy?" Wang Zhenxing ridiculed him mercilessly. Lin Keqing was listening behind him and felt extremely relieved. The boss is simply her mouthpiece. On the other hand, the yellow-haired young man blushed immediately when his scar was poked. But for the sake of face, he still said, You have the guts to say it again." Wang Zhenxing did not give the other party any way out and repeated what he had just said. Why should he give face to a street urchin? What the hell? The yellow-haired young man was even more embarrassed. He went to the table next to him and picked up a beer bottle. He pretended to smash it on Wang Zhenxing's head, and shouted, "Nima, are you looking for death? Bang! There was a crisp sound as the beer bottle hit the head. However, Wang Zhenxing was quick-witted and snatched the beer bottle from the yellow-haired young man, then hit him. The yellow-haired young man felt pain and immediately squatted on the ground, covering his head. Bright red flowed out from between fingers. When some of the yellow-haired young man's companions saw this, they immediately picked up stools and other things and gathered around. Wang Zhenxing pushed Lin Keqing aside to prevent her from being affected. A street fight soon broke out. This was the first time Wang Zhenxing used his advanced fighting skills. This fusion not only learns advanced fighting techniques, but also gains fighting experience. Reactions like dodging and attacking are like muscle memory. Wang Zhenxing knocked down one guy with one punch, and 5 or 6 aggressive guys were soon knocked to the ground. Upon seeing this, the remaining people immediately retreated and dared not go forward. Lin Keqing opened her mouth in surprise, looking at the scene in disbelief. The boss is so awesome, he is so good at fighting. Seeing that the rest of the yellow-haired young man's companions had no intention of continuing the fight, Wang Zhenxing naturally would not chase after them to fight. If someone attacks him and he fights back, it is called self-defense. But if he chases someone and hits them, that is excessive self-defense. Lao Wang knows the lore. Boss, are you okay? Lin Keqing trotted to Wang Zhenxing and asked with concern. Fine. Wang Zhenxing shook his head, then took out his cell phone and called the police station. I'm sorry, boss. I'm causing you trouble. Lin Keqing said apologetically. I don't blame you. Wang Zhenxing shook his head. Remember, you are my secretary. Unless I ask you to drink, no one can force you. Lin Keqing has been working with Wang Zhenxing every day for some time and has long been accustomed to her boss's tyranny and dominance. After hearing these words, a surge of warmth and a sense of security suddenly surged in my heart. I raised my eyes slightly and involuntarily looked straight at him with those beautiful gem-like eyes. Heroine Lin Keqing's favorability towards the host increases by +5, and the current total favorability is 50 heartbeating. The host influences the plot and gains 300 counterattack points. The protagonist Xin Yi's luck value is 50, and the host's luck value is +50. Chapter 18 The protagonist goes down the mountain. Wang Zhenxing pretended not to notice Lin Keqing's strange look. He took out his cell phone and called his lawyer. Of course, something like this can't just be left unresolved. There were also a lot of people watching the fun around, and some were even recording videos with their cell phones. After the lawyer arrived, Wang Zhenxing told him what had happened. Boss Wang, do you want them to be detained for half a month, or sentenced to less than 3 years in prison? After hearing this, the lawyer asked Wang Zhenxing. Severe punishment without mercy. Wang Zhenxing said solemnly. Okay, I understand. The lawyer nodded. After the people from the authorities arrived, the lawyer went to contact them. The fault was not with Wang Zhenxing, but the yellow-haired young man who started it first. The people in the police station take this matter very seriously. Wang Zhenxing is not an ordinary citizen, but a smart and well-known entrepreneur who is also passionate about charity. Of course, the government likes this kind of conscientious entrepreneur very much. Such a conscientious entrepreneur was almost beaten up on the street. This is simply outrageous. The people in the police station took this matter very seriously and reported it to the higher-ups immediately. The top leaders also mean severe punishment. At the same time, we need to check whether these young people have made any mistakes in the past. If so, multiple crimes will be punished together. The yellow-haired young man who took the lead and those who assisted him were receiving treatment in the hospital, thinking happily in their hearts that they had met a noble person. He thought he could extort a large sum of compensation from Wang Zhenxing and become rich. But when they learned that they would most likely enjoy free food and accommodation for less than 3 years, they were all terrified. The next day, Wang Zhenxing came to work as usual and was very relaxed. It's much easier now than it was a few days ago. Lin Keqing made rapid progress and worked seriously, and was now able to help him handle a lot of company affairs. Wang Zhenxing is a bit free at the moment. He pulled out a spare cell phone from the drawer and pressed the power button. This spare phone is used to contact some people and do some not-so-glorious things. When I turned on my phone, there were several unread messages on it. It was sent by the resident living upstairs from Shuyuru. Boss, I can't stand it any longer. It's been 12 days in a row. I'm really exhausted. Can we stop here? Even a little less balance is fine. Boss, have you seen the message? It's already the 13th day, so these 2 days won't make a difference, right? Boss, it's been 14 days. We can't hold on any longer. The fields are fine, but the cows are dying of exhaustion. We can't plow any more. Wang Zhenxing looked at the information and smiled playfully. Judging from the words in the message, this guy should be quite dedicated. He and his wife have been making noise for Xu Yiru downstairs for more than 10 days. The time Wang Zhenxing originally agreed with the other party was 15 days. But it doesn't matter what day it is. Xu Yiru has been left out for so long, it's time to go and comfort her. Wang Zhenxing took out his spare phone and started typing text messages to get the other party's account. After getting the account number, he transferred 20,000 yuan through Feng Qianqian's account. The final payment was originally 10,000. Wang Zhenxing gave an extra 10,000. The extra 10,000 given is to make the other party forget about it. After the transaction was completed, Wang Zhenxing destroyed the phone card and threw it into the trash can. After taking a few sips of tea, Wang Zhenxing took out his usual mobile phone and called Xu Yiru. The SOAR there should be unblocked, right? Wang Zhenxing asked after the call was connected. No, it's been stuck in traffic for many days. Xu Yiru said in a sad tone. Didn't you call a professional to help? Wang Zhenxing asked. No, I just tinkered with it myself, but it didn't work. Xu Yiru explained. Then I'll go over and take a look today, but I can only go after get off work, so I guess I won't be able to reach your place until the evening. Is that convenient? If it's inconvenient, just come over. Let's have dinner at my place tonight. What would you like to eat? Just buy anything. Okay, then I'll just buy whatever I want, and you can't be picky then. How could that be? I believe in your craftsmanship. Okay, see you later then. End the call. Xu Yiru went out in a hurry to buy groceries. When we arrived downstairs of the community, I happened to meet the young couple who lived upstairs. Xu Yiru subconsciously looked at the two of them. The man looked a little listless, with sunken eye sockets and a very bad complexion. On the other hand, the woman had a rosy complexion and looked very energetic. Xu Yiru looked at the woman for a second longer, feeling a little envious and a little jealous. When the two parties passed each other, Xu Yiru took a look at the things they bought and saw dishes such as oysters and pork kidneys. Apparently, the couple had just returned from the vegetable market. Small town. Near the train station. Boy, if you have the guts, just wait for me. A few young men with bruised faces and noses said some harsh words to a weak teenager and then immediately fled. The boy watched them leave jokingly and tossed the phone in his hand. He had just come out of the mountains and was about to take a train to Qingling City, but suddenly discovered a problem. That means no money. Unexpectedly, at this time, he met a few young men who wanted to rob him. It is truly a timely help. These young men were unlucky. Not only did they fail to rob, they were robbed instead. The boy turned on his cell phone and dialed a familiar number. After about 10 seconds, the call was connected. I just heard a noisy sound on the other end of the phone, which sounded like a vegetable market. Hello. Soon, a gentle and mature woman's voice came from the phone again. When the boy heard his mother's voice, he felt extremely warm in his heart. Who are you looking for? The person on the other end of the phone asked again. The boy opened his mouth and had a lot to say, but he didn't know where to start. This young man was none other than Qin Yi, who had just come down the mountain after completing his training. Mother. Beep. Qin Yi just calmed down and called out, but the call was hung up. So Qin Yi redialed the number. After ringing a few times, the call was reconnected. Boss, how much are the oysters? Qin Yi suddenly heard Xu Yiru's voice. It was obvious that my mother was buying groceries and she wasn't talking to herself. However, Qin Yi remembered that his mother didn't seem to like eating oysters, so what was the point of buying oysters? Hello, who are you looking for? Xu Yiru spoke again. Mom. Qin Yi's emotions were surging and he called out in a low voice. The market was very noisy, and Xu Yiru couldn't hear clearly at all, so she asked again, who are you looking for? Qin Yi paused, wanting to raise his voice to call out. But before he could get his emotions together, the phone was hung up again. Xu Yiru is busy buying groceries now and doesn't have time to talk too much with a stranger on the phone. Qin Yi looked at his phone, feeling a little depressed. However, judging from the strong voice of my mother, it seems that life is still okay. I really did not entrust my work to the wrong person. Uncle Wang is a good man. He took good care of my mother and did not let his mortal enemy hurt her. My mother seems to be very busy now, I should call her in the evening. Qin Yi thought. Chapter 19 Qin Yi calls. 7 o'clock in the evening. Wang Zhenxing came to Xu Yuru's home with a bottle of red wine. Come if you want, bring anything else. Xu Yuru came out of the kitchen wearing an apron and opened the door. She caught a glimpse of Wang Zhenxing holding a red gift box bag in his hand. It's just a bottle of red wine, suitable for women to drink, it can beautify the skin. While Wang Zhenxing was speaking, he also looked at Xu Yuru. I saw that Xu Yuru was dressed very delicately today, with lipstick on her lips, looking bright and charming. Did you put on makeup specially? Wang Zhenxing smiled secretly, but did not point it out. After hearing that it was red wine, Xu Yuru's smile deepened. At her age, she really needs to take better care of herself, and red wine is a good thing. And since it was a gift from Wang Zhenxing, it must not be a cheap item. Sit anywhere. I'm going to cook first. Xu Yuru said this with a smile, then twisted her waist and went to the kitchen. The two had spoken on the phone before. Xu Yuru estimated the time and started cooking in advance. Wang Zhenxing only had to wait for less than 10 minutes before he could start eating. Garlic oysters, fried pork kidneys, roasted lamb ribs, yam and wolfberry soup, scrambled eggs with leeks. Looking at the huge table of dishes, Wang Zhenxing was a little confused. Is it a bit too nourishing? I always hear you say that you are too busy at work, so I cooked more dishes that are good for your body. Don't you like it? Xu Yuru asked softly. I like it, of course I like it. Wang Zhenxing smiled. He is indeed a little tired recently. I have to work during the day and watch cosplay at night, and it's never the same again. Sailor Moon, Mai Shiranui, Chun-Li, Platelet, Asuna, REM. From some familiar ones, to some unfamiliar ones. Wang Zhenxing's knowledge is becoming more and more extensive. As long as you like it. Xu Yuru smiled and served a small bowl of old hen soup to Wang Zhenxing. Wang Zhenxing took a sip, then picked up some more dishes and nodded frequently. Xu Yuru's cooking skills are so good that even though Wang Zhenxing is used to eating food in big hotels, it is difficult for him to find any flaws in these dishes. If Xu Yuru opened a restaurant, the business would definitely be booming. Wang Zhenxing started eating with great enthusiasm. Seeing that he liked the food she cooked so much, Xu Yuru's smile became even more pronounced. In the simple house, the two sat opposite each other and had dinner together. This made Xu Yuru feel very warm. The soft lighting in the house adds a touch of romance. Would you like some wine? Xu Yuru suddenly spoke on a whim. If you want to drink, I'll drink with you. Of course Wang Zhenxing would not object and immediately opened the bottle of red wine he had just brought. Bang! The sound of glass goblets gently colliding was heard. Xu Yuru picked up the cup and took a sip, then frowned. Why is this red wine a bit strong? Oh, I forgot to tell you that the alcohol content of this red wine is a little higher than ordinary red wine, but it is a good red wine, and it has a very good effect on beautifying and nourishing the skin. A bottle costs 100,000 yuan, and someone sold it to me out of pity. Wang Zhenxing explained. A bottle costs 100,000 yuan, so we can't waste it. Xu Yuru was surprised. She didn't expect Wang Zhenxing to give her such expensive wine. There was still half a glass of red wine in the glass, and he had to finish it no matter what. Xu Yuru gritted her teeth and continued drinking. After finishing half a glass of wine, her face became more and more rosy, her eyes became increasingly blurred, and she felt a little tipsy. Wang Zhenxing drank several cups in a row and felt a little tipsy, but his mind was clear. After dinner, Wang Zhenxing sat in the living room for a while and watched TV. Which room's door is blocked? Wang Zhenxing suddenly asked. The drain in the bathroom in my bedroom. Crash. Wang Zhenxing went to the bathroom, turned on the faucet and took a look, and found that everything was normal. Huh, that's strange. It was blocked before, how come it got better by itself? Xu Yuru looked puzzled. Wang Zhenxing did not expose it and returned to the living room. It's getting late. I'll call the driver over. After sitting in the living room for a while, Wang Zhenxing took out his cell phone and made a call. Seeing this, Xu Yuru became secretly anxious. However, after Wang Zhenxing made the call, no one seemed to answer. This driver is so unprofessional. Has he already taken a break? Wang Zhenxing looked dissatisfied. I guess so. Xu Yuru appeared calm on the surface, but was secretly delighted. I'd better take a taxi home. Wang Zhenxing stood up and walked towards the door, but he walked a little unsteadily. Zhenxing, you've drunk too much. I'm a little worried about you going back so late. If you don't mind, just stay here for one night. Xu Yuru said. I'm afraid this is inconvenient. Wang Zhenxing seemed hesitant. It's not inconvenient at all, as long as you don't mind the simple living here. Xu Yuru said. Well, okay then. Wang Zhenxing agreed reluctantly. 10:30 at night. Clank, clank. A green train is moving. On the train, Qinyi called his mother. After the waiting tone sounded a few times, the call was immediately hung up. Qinyi frowned and dialed again. The prompt you get is that the other party has turned off the phone. It's so late, isn't mom still busy? Or did she block the call because it's an unfamiliar number? Qinyi began to guess in his heart. Call Uncle Wang and ask him what kind of job mom does now. Qinyi dialed another number based on his memory. After the waiting tone sounded a few times, the phone was hung up again. Forget it. It looks like Uncle Wang is busy too. I'll call him tomorrow and ask. Qinyi sighed. Important female supporting character Xu Yuru's favorability towards the host increases by 10, and the current total favorability is 79. Unwavering love. The host secretly became Qinyi's stepfather, greatly affecting the plot, and gained 500 counterattack points. The protagonist Qinyi's luck value 100, the host's luck value plus 100. Congratulations to the host for having a luck value of over 300. You can choose one of the three fortunes, wealth, gambling, and romance, to bless yourself. Wang Zhenxing, who was in a state as holy as Buddha, suddenly received several messages. When the luck value reaches a certain level, there is actually such a reward. Volcano literature. This was a complete surprise for Wang Zhenxing. Looking at the three fortunes, Wang Zhenxing began to think. Both financial luck and gambling luck are related to making money, so they can be classified into the same category. Wang Zhenxing can be considered a wealthy man. I don't particularly need money. Moreover, money does not play a decisive role in dealing with the protagonist. Wang Zhenxing chose Daoyun. Early morning. Sunlight shines through their window into a simple and clean bedroom. Xu Yuru was still in her dreams, but there was a happy and sweet smile on her lips. Wang Zhenxing next to me often gets up early and wakes up naturally when his biological clock strikes. Buzz. The cell phone vibrated. Wang Zhenxing picked up the phone and found that it was an unfamiliar call. This number called once last night, but Wang Zhenxing was very busy at the time, so he hung up directly without answering the call. Who is this? Wang Zhenxing slid the answer button. Uncle Wang, it's me, Qinyi. I hope I didn't disturb you. A voice came from the phone immediately. Chapter 20. Okay, definitely. Qinyi. Wang Zhenxing was startled, then pretended to be happy and said, Xiaoyi, you finally have news. If your mother knew, she would definitely be very happy. Uncle Wang, do you know what my mother does for a living? Does she have to work the night shift? I called her last night, but she didn't answer. Qinyi asked. Hearing this, Wang Zhenxing suddenly remembered that Xu Yuru's phone also rang last night. But Xu Yuru was also very busy and hung up the phone directly. It turned out to be Qinyi calling. Your mother used to run a fruit shop, but now it's closed and she's unemployed, Wang Zhenxing replied. Then why is my mother so busy that she doesn't have time to answer the phone at night? Qinyi was puzzled. Hearing Qinyi's question, Wang Zhenxing secretly found it funny. Of course he knew why Xu Yuru didn't answer the phone, but could he tell Qinyi? Is your mother busy at night? That's unlikely. She lives alone, what can she be busy with at night? I guess you thought it was an unfamiliar number, so you didn't answer it. Wang Zhenxing replied on the phone. Yes, that must be the case. Qinyi felt that it made sense, and then said sincerely, Thank you, Uncle Wang, for taking care of my mother for more than a year. Wang Zhenxing turned his head and glanced at Xu Yuru, who was still asleep, then smiled and said to Qinyi, We are one family, no need to thank me. Uncle Wang, you've been single for so many years, you should have found a partner, right? When can I attend your wedding? Qinyi asked with concern. There are too many things to do in the company, so I don't have time to talk about love. Besides, after a few years, I'm almost 40 years old, and it's hard to find the right person. Wang Zhenxing pretended to sigh. Matters of love depend on fate. I believe Uncle Wang will be able to find a suitable partner. Qin Yi blessed. Then I'll take your good words. Wang Zhenxing smiled. By the way, Uncle Wang, does my mother have any personal problems? Qin Yi asked tentatively. Oh, Xiaoyi, do you want your mother to find you a stepfather? Wang Zhenxing asked in surprise. Of course not. Qin Yi's face darkened. Since he was a child, he resisted Xu Yuru's idea of finding a stepfather for him. Wang Zhenxing left the bedroom and came to the living room, then he replied. I just support your mother in life, visit her occasionally, help her fix light bulbs and faucets, and unclog the drains. As for her personal affairs, I don't ask about them. I really don't know much about them. Qin Yi was silent for a few seconds after hearing this, and suddenly changed the subject. Uncle Wang, I'm going back to Qingling soon to collect debts from my enemies. I hope you can help me then. After hearing this, Wang Zhenxing sneered secretly. I really want to say to Qin Yi, you are so rude. You want me, a company with a market value of only 1 billion, to compete with companies worth tens of billions. Okay, definitely. Wang Zhenxing agreed. Also, Uncle Wang, I hope you can keep my return to Qingling a secret for the time being. Don't tell anyone, especially not my mother. I want to give her a surprise when the time comes. He said easily. Okay. Wang Zhenxing agreed repeatedly. After the call, he fell into deep thought. I have received some plot information from the system before. Logically, Qin Yi should not have left the mountain so soon. Why does he want to return to Qingling immediately? Communication system, Wang Zhenxing asked. Their host has influenced the direction of the plot, and the protagonist's luck is correcting the plot, so he will appear early. So that's how it is. Wang Zhenxing suddenly realized. At this time, there was some noise coming from the bedroom. But it was Xu Yuru who woke up. Wang Zhenxing returned to the bedroom and looked at her for a long time. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. Oh, it's all my fault. Wang Zhenxing broke the silence, seeming to blame himself. It's not your fault. Xu Yuru shook her head. It takes two hands to clap. If she wasn't happy, nothing would have happened. Xu Yuru looked at Wang Zhenxing with loving eyes, wanting to know how he would handle their future relationship. For Xu Yuru, of course she hopes to be able to walk hand in hand with Wang Zhenxing on the street openly. But Xu Yuru also knew that this was a bit too much to hope for. After all, her own conditions are there. And what about Wang Zhenxing? A rich boss who is so handsome. I am somewhat unworthy of him. I just received a call from Xiaoyi. Wang Zhenxing said suddenly. Xiaoyi called you. Xu Yuru was a little unbelievable. Not only did he call me, he also called you, the one you hung up on last night. R. Xu Yuru blushed and thought to herself that it was a good thing she didn't answer the phone at that time. Xiaoyi said that he would be returning to Qingling soon, and he specifically asked about your relationship. I told him that I didn't know about it, but from his tone, he seemed to be against you finding him a stepfather. Xiaoyi is like this. He is very opposed to this. As a mother, I can't do anything about it. Xu Yuru sighed and then pleaded. Let's keep our affairs secret for now. Keep it secret. But I feel guilty about it. Wang Zhenxing said. I know you are a good man. This is my problem. Don't feel bad about it. Xu Yuru comforted him. What if Xiaoyi finds out about this? Wang Zhenxing asked. If you don't tell me and I don't tell you, how would he know? Xu Yuru asked back. There is no wall that is impenetrable. What if he finds out? I can feel that he is very resistant to you finding him a stepfather. If he really finds out, I'm afraid he will beat me to death. Wang Zhenxing said. How is this possible? Xu Yuru was amused. Don't be afraid of 10,000, just be prepared for the worst. Although I think this is impossible, if Xiaoyi really dares to disrespect you, I will definitely stop him. Even if it costs me my life, I will take care of you. Xu Yuru looked at her lover and said affectionately. Seeing Xu Yuru's statement, Wang Zhenxing felt a lot more at ease. This amulet is considered safe. It really paid off to me to waste so much energy. You are going to work, right? What do you want for breakfast? I'll make it for you. Xu Yuru asked softly. There's no rush to go to work. I'm the boss. Even if I'm late, who would dare to deduct my wages? Wang Zhenxing laughed, and his laugh was a little strange. Xu Yuru was stunned for a moment, then gave him a coquettish look. Zhenxing Group. President's office. Lin Keqing looked at the empty boss chair and couldn't help feeling confused. Usually the boss arrives before him, so why hasn't he come yet even though it's already time to get to work? Lin Keqing is still waiting for her boss to assign her work. If the boss doesn't arrange anything, she doesn't know what to do first. While waiting, Lin Keqing felt a little bored, so she stretched her muscles in the office and did some yoga. Although she is naturally beautiful, Lin Keqing still pays great attention to body management. I did yoga regularly during college. It's just that the work clothes are a bit inconvenient. Lin Keqing's work clothes got torn because of the large movements she made while doing yoga. Fortunately, she had spare work clothes. Lin Keqing locked the office door and changed her clothes. Just at this moment, Wang Zhenxing pushed the door and walked in. The door is unlocked by fingerprint. Even if it is locked, Wang Zhenxing can open it with his fingerprint. Two people looked into each other's eyes. Lin Keqing was not frightened enough to scream. But the scene was very awkward at one point. Wang Zhenxing remained serious and looked into the office a few times before closing the door and waiting outside. Is it because of my good luck that I can still encounter such a thing? Wang Zhenxing thought. Chapter 21 Advanced Medical Skills. A few minutes later, Lin Keqing opened the door. Mr. Wang, why are you so late today? Lin Keqing refused to mention the embarrassing incident and pretended nothing had happened. I did morning exercises for a long time and didn't pay attention to the time. Wang Zhenxing responded casually, but soon felt something was wrong and said, do I need to report to you about what I do? As he was speaking, Wang Zhenxing had already walked to the office chair and sat down. That's not what I meant. I was just concerned about you. Lin Keqing waved her hands hurriedly, and her voice became as soft as a mosquito's buzz when she spoke the rest of the story. Wang Zhenxing's hearing was pretty good, so he barely heard it, but he didn't expose it. There is today's schedule on the desk. This was obviously prepared in advance by Lin Keqing. The schedule was simple, with a meeting in the morning and afternoon, and attending their Qingling Charity Summit in the evening. Wang Zhenxing skipped the two company meetings and focused his attention on the Qingling Charity Summit. After flipping through the memories in my mind, some information about this meeting came to my mind. The main initiator of this charity summit is Wang Zhenxing himself. It was launched 2 months ago. The organizers are several departments of the Qingling government. This is what happened when Wang Zhenxing came here. His original identity was set to be a supporting role in the Protagonist's camp, and he was passionate about charity, so this kind of thing happened. Wang Zhenxing subconsciously wanted to cancel the meeting, but after weighing the pros and cons, he immediately gave up the idea. This was because he persuaded several government departments in Qingling, and the government department spent a long time preparing before this meeting could be held. If I don't go, I will lose my credibility and goodwill with the government. You can write a speech, right? I need to give a speech at a charity summit. Please help me write a speech of about 800 words. Wang Zhenxing assigned Lin Keqing a task. Of course I can, but I'm afraid I won't be able to write it well. Lin Keqing was a little embarrassed. You write first. If there is anything inappropriate, I will teach you how to revise it. However, you will be punished for every mistake. Wang Zhenxing said. Do you want to be punished again? Lin Keqing looked dejected. Wang Zhenxing said nothing and just looked at her silently. Yes, I'll write it right away. Lin Keqing responded habitually, and then hurried to the cubicle to work. After Lin Keqing left, Wang Zhenxing rubbed his forehead, feeling a little melancholy. Doing charity definitely requires money. As the initiator, he must pay out of his own pocket. If it was more than a year ago, the company was operating well and its profits were growing steadily. Then donating some money to charity is not a big deal and can also earn you some fame. However, Zhenxing Group has been suppressed in recent years, and its performance has been gradually declining. Going ahead with charity is undoubtedly asking for trouble. Can I have a good talk with that bitch Han Mai? Wang Zhenxing thought. Han Mai is the richest woman in Qingling and the mother of the rich second generation whom Qin Yi offended. The official has invited almost all the famous business people in Qingling to this Qingling Charity Summit, and Han Mai will definitely not be absent. Whenever he goes to the charity summit, he will definitely meet Han Mai. Whenever Wang Zhenxing thought of Han Mai, he gritted his teeth. If this woman hadn't suppressed his company, he would have made more money this year and wouldn't just be driving a Bentley. Other big bosses drive all kinds of luxury cars, but he only drives a Bentley back and forth every day, and the mansion he lives in doesn't even have a swimming pool. I'm angry, but confronting this woman head on is not an option. Maybe I can sacrifice my looks. Wang Zhenxing pondered in his mind for a while, then communicated with the system to check his recent gains. Host, Wang Zhenxing. Luck value, 305. Villain aura, 166. Counterattack points, 1700. Combat power, 186. Charm value, 113. Special skills, advanced fighting skills. Fate fortune, peach luck elementary. After taking a quick glance, Wang Zhenxing set his sights on the counterattack points. Counterattack points can be exchanged for items in the system mall. What can 1,700 counterattack points be exchanged for? Wang Zhenxing felt a little excited. Dragon Tiger Pill 1000. X-ray eyes 1100. Advanced medical skills 1500. The mall shows 3 items that Wang Zhenxing's current points can be exchanged for. Wang Zhenxing first turned his attention to their Dragon Tiger Pill. This pill sounds like a good thing. But what exactly is the use? With a thought, Wang Zhenxing checked the effect of their Dragon and Tiger Pill. Dragon Tiger Pill, after taking it, you can get a very strong physique and greatly improve the kidney function. Wang Zhenxing's eyes suddenly lit up. Although the Dragon Tiger Pill is good, it is not a necessity for him at the moment. After all, it's not like there are 3,000 beauties. Besides, his body was already very healthy, so that was enough for now. As for the X-ray eyes, they are naturally a good thing. The golden finger of some protagonists is the ability of X-ray vision. He made his fortune by using his X-ray vision to do obscene things and by gambling on stones. Wang Zhenxing was a little tempted, but he still did not exchange it, and instead chose advanced medical skills. Advanced medical skills are also an ability that only the protagonist possesses. In terms of effect, they are stronger than X-ray vision. Wang Zhenxing spent 1,500 counterattack points and directly exchanged them for advanced medical skills. Soon, some medical knowledge came into his mind. Wang Zhenxing took some time to digest it and finally understood it thoroughly. An hour later, Lin Keqing came to Wang Zhenxing with a written speech. Wang Zhenxing had acquired a new ability and subconsciously used Lin Keqing to practice on it. Traditional Chinese medicine emphasizes observation, auscultation, questioning and palpation, and the first word is observation. Lin Keqing is still in good health, but she probably didn't get enough rest recently, and the high pressure at work caused a slight endocrine disorder, resulting in her menstrual period not being as regular as before. Mr. Wang, the speech is ready. Please take a look. Lin Keqing gently placed the manuscript on the desk in front of Wang Zhenxing. Picking up the manuscript, Wang Zhenxing took a quick look at it and found at least 5 inappropriate places. Swish swish. Wang Zhenxing picked up a pen and circled the inappropriate parts. Change all the circled parts. Yes. Lin Keqing nodded and carefully picked up the manuscript from the table, but stopped where she was. Why aren't you going yet? Wang Zhenxing was surprised. Didn't you say that if you don't write well you will be punished? Lin Keqing asked back. Wang Zhenxing suddenly realized. I noticed that Lin Keqing was not in good spirits, so I didn't want to punish her. But she actually asked about it on her own initiative. My goodness, is she really suffering from Stockholm Syndrome? If that's the case, then you really can't be too polite to her in the future. 10 push-ups. Wang Zhenxing said casually. 10 push-ups. Lin Keqing was stunned by this novel way of punishment. Too little. No, I'll do it right away. Lin Keqing quickly did 10 standard push-ups on the spot, not daring to paddle at all. She practiced yoga regularly during college, and her physical fitness is still very good. 10 push-ups are not a problem for her at all. Chapter 22, The Richest Woman, Han Mai. Qingling Center Building. This is the most luxurious office building in Qingling and one of the iconic buildings in Qingling, with a total height of 505 meters. Their headquarters of Fenghua Group, owned by Han Mai, the richest woman in Qingling, is located in the Qingling Center Building. This building has a total of 100 floors and houses more than 50 super large companies, both domestic and foreign. Fenghua Group is just one of them. However, Fenghua Group occupies 20 of these 100 floors. This is quite incredible. This shows the arrogance of the richest woman in Qingling. Top floor of the building. Fenghua Group headquarters. It's afternoon break time. There were some strange noises in the lounge of the president's office. At this time, the door of the president's office was pushed open. A young man in his 20s walked into the office and knocked on the door outside the lounge. "Mom, I have something to talk to you about." The young man shouted outside the door. "I told you not to bother me during your lunch break, are you deaf?" A woman's angry voice came from inside the door. The young man was startled. He knew that his mother had the habit of taking a nap at noon and hated being disturbed during her rest time. If it wasn't an emergency, he would never come. "Mom, don't be angry. I have something urgent to talk to you about," the young man explained. After a few minutes, a beautiful woman walked out of the lounge. This beautiful woman is the richest woman in Qingling, Hanmai. Although she is nearly 40 years old, the years have not left any obvious traces on her face and she looks like she is only 27 or 28 years old. Hanmai is very willing to spend money on maintenance, spending at least 8 million every year. But this money is like a drop in the bucket for her. Hanmai had a gloomy face and sat down on the soft chair in the office. The young man in front of her, her son, was called Han Jie. Han Jie's father was a son-in-law and died early. Therefore, Han Jie took his mother's surname. "Mom, are you going to attend a charity summit tonight?" Han Jie was afraid of his mother, so he stood straight in front of the desk and asked softly. "If you have something to say, just say it," Hanmai said coldly. This charity summit was initiated by that Wang Zhenxing, and his company's current performance is not good. We should take this opportunity to make him spend more money on charity. It would be best if we could cause problems with his company's cash flow and then bring his company down, Han Jie said, gritting his teeth. "Do you know how much Fenghua has spent to suppress Zhenxing Group over the past year?" Hanmai did not respond immediately, but asked back. "Well, how would I know this?" Han Jie shook his head awkwardly. "Suppressing Zhenxing Group is like hurting the enemy by 1,000 and hurting yourself by 800. Over the past year or so, we have spent at least 100 million yuan, said Hanmai. "I just can't swallow this anger. Qin Yi was lucky to have gotten away. I can only vent my anger on Qin Yi's mother Shiyiru, but that Wang Zhenxing always tries to stop me," Han Jie said hatefully. Hanmai looked at his furious expression, shook her head slightly, and after a pause, she said expressionlessly, "You should be thankful that you are my only son." "Mom, you agreed." "Thank you, Mom. Then I won't disturb your rest." Han Jie was delighted and left happily. Hanmai couldn't help but sigh as she watched her son leave. If she had other children, she would never indulge Han Jie like this. But there's no way. Hanmai's husband died just one day after they got married. It's really my luck that I have a child like Han Jie. After her husband died, Hanmai did not find another husband. Hanmai has been in a bad mood since she celebrated her 39th birthday a few days ago. When she was a teenager, a mysterious fortune teller had read her fortune. The fortune teller said that she would have great fortune from the age of 20 to 39, and that she would be unlucky in marriage. After graduating from university, Hanmai's business went smoothly and she became the richest woman in Qingling in her 30s. This proves that she is indeed very wealthy. Her husband's early death also proves that she is a jinx. After the age of 39, Hanmai's fortune will become ordinary. Hanmai has just celebrated her 39th birthday. In other words, although you have lost your great fortune, you will not be unlucky in marriage. Hanmai's original ideal was not just to become the richest person in Qingling. But without great fortune, can Fenghua Group go further? Hanmai didn't believe in fate at first, but her experiences over the past 20 years or so were indeed just as the fortune teller had said. Even if Fenghua Group doesn't seek to expand, it should be able to maintain its business, right? Hanmai changes her mind. In addition to her great fortune, she also possessed very strong management skills, so she was confident that she could keep the Fenghua family business. After thinking this through, Hanmai's mood improved a little. She returned to the lounge, washed her hands and cleaned herself up, then continued what she had not finished. Her husband died so early, and because he was a jinx, Hanmai didn't dare find another partner. But as a normal woman, Hanmai could only adjust herself regularly. Otherwise, people will get sick. However, just as Hanmai was about to start adjusting herself, she suddenly lost interest. She no longer has great fortune, but at the same time she will no longer be unlucky in marriage. So, is it possible to consider finding a partner? When Hanmai thought of this, some anticipation gradually emerged on her cold and arrogant face, but it disappeared after a few seconds. She is a very proud woman and also has a misophobia. I will definitely not just find one just because of the need. Unless this man can enter her heart. But this possibility is really too small. Han Mai has been active in the business world over the years and has met many outstanding elites. But I have never been moved by anyone. Or to be more precise, she has never been moved by anyone since she first fell in love. To put it bluntly, the reason they got married was a marriage of convenience and had nothing to do with love. Night is falling. Qingling Wharf. Luxury cars from all directions were rushing towards this side. There are huge cruise ships parked here at the pier. Tonight's charity summit is held on this cruise ship. A Bentley took Wang Zhenxing to Qingling Wharf. If it were somewhere else, this Bentley worth about 3 million yuan would attract countless attention. But here today, it seems ordinary. Wang Zhenxing looked at the Rolls Royces around him and felt a little envious. Taking out his pass, Wang Zhenxing boarded the cruise ship. There was still half an hour left before the charity summit, but most of the people had already arrived. This is a very good social occasion. Some people who know each other greet each other when they meet. And I will also look for opportunities to get to know and socialize with those I don't know. After Wang Zhenxing arrived here, many business people greeted him, and almost all of them had a smile on their faces. But Wang Zhenxing knew that most of these guys must be cursing him in their hearts. After all, when you come here, you have to donate some money to support charity. And how many businessmen have a conscience? As the initiator, Wang Zhenxing naturally has the highest hatred value. Of course, there were also some people who sincerely smiled at Wang Zhenxing. Most of these people come from government offices. They don't need to spend money, they just need to organize themselves, which can not only gain a good reputation but also increase their performance. In their eyes, Wang Zhenxing was simply a living Buddha. Chapter 23 Charity Summit. Some people came over to greet Wang Zhenxing. Some have good intentions, and some have bad intentions. But no matter which one it is not a good thing for Wang Zhenxing. Because it means that he might be forced to donate more money. If you donate less, there is a high probability that it will be used as a fuss. There were many media outlets present at this charity summit. If Wang Zhenxing performs poorly, there will definitely be negative news tomorrow. We must not allow things to go in this direction. Wang Zhenxing began to think about countermeasures and soon came up with an idea, which was to pretend to be sick. In fact, before coming, he thought about pretending to be sick and absent. But falling ill for no apparent reason right before a charity summit is likely to arouse suspicion. But if something happens at the summit in public and you become ill, then there will be nothing others can say. Thinking of this, Wang Zhenxing, who was standing on the deck, inadvertently looked at the calm river water, and a smile suddenly appeared at the corner of his mouth. The meeting was held in the cruise ship's banquet hall. But it was not time yet, and most of them gathered on the deck. There is a lot of rich food on the deck, and it is served buffet style, so that people who don't have dinner can fill their stomachs. Of course, few people actually go to eat the food. More people were socializing while drinking red wine. All those who came to the charity summit were elegant and smart business celebrities. This is a rare social occasion. There were 20 minutes left before the meeting. There was a sudden commotion at the entrance of the cruise ship. Wang Zhenxing looked at it in confusion. I saw a beautiful woman in a black evening dress, slowly coming to the deck surrounded by many people. Some of those who gathered around them were worth hundreds of millions, and some were worth more than billions. If these people were placed outside, they would definitely be big shots. But at this moment he seemed like a humble greeter. It was not for any other reason, but because the beautiful woman in the black evening dress was Han Mai, the richest woman in Qingling. Wang Zhenxing looked over and took a look. Both are beautiful women, but Xu Yiru is dignified and elegant, while Han Mai is strong and domineering, like a queen. What would happen if the queen lowered her proud head? Wang Zhenxing thought with some curiosity. Boss Han, that is Wang Zhenxing from Zhenxing Group, the main initiator of this charity summit. A boss who was worth hundreds of millions and worked in the daily chemical industry suddenly pointed in the direction of Wang Zhenxing and said to Han Mai. When doing business, there will be some hatred among competitors. The boss of the daily chemical company knew that Han Mai was suppressing Zhenxing Group, so he was of course happy to watch the show. Being as smart as Han Mai could certainly see what this person was thinking. Of course Han Mai had heard of the name Wang Zhenxing before, but she had never seen him in person. Perhaps the two had appeared on the same occasions before. But Han Mai really never paid attention to it. To put it bluntly, The boss of a company with a market value of 10 billion is just an insignificant little character in Han Mai's eyes. Is it also worthy of Han Mai's attention? But this time, Han Mai promised her son Han Jie that she would trick Wang Zhenxing at the charity summit. Han Mai felt that it was necessary to recognize them, in order to avoid being unable to tell the people apart, which would be embarrassing. Han Mai narrowed her beautiful eyes slightly and looked in the direction the person next to her was pointing. Because of working at a desk for a long time, she was a little nearsighted and could not see Wang Zhenxing's appearance clearly. She only saw a perfect figure. I've heard that Wang Zhenxing is a bachelor. He has a really good figure, unlike most bosses who have a big belly. But he is a middle-aged man after all. No matter how well he manages his figure, it should not be able to cover up the traces of time left on his face. After all, he can't maintain his appearance like a woman. Without even seeing his face, Han Mai made a faint evaluation in her heart. She walked slowly, getting closer and closer to Wang Zhenxing, and his face became gradually clearer in her vision. Of course, after seeing it clearly, Han Mai was shocked. Wang Zhenxing did not have the greasy look of a middle-aged man at all. He looked very young, perhaps around 27 or 28 years old. Tall and perfect figure, heroic facial features, sharp face, mature and steady temperament. These qualities combined are extremely lethal to women. Especially for a mature woman who has been single for a long time, the lethality is doubled. Wang Zhenxing had dressed up carefully before coming here. With this image and temperament, he could attract countless attention even if he walked on an international red carpet. Han Mai's heart was extremely uneasy at this moment. However, she managed her emotions and expressions very well. Although she admired Wang Zhenxing's appearance, she still looked indifferent on the surface. Even Wang Zhenxing didn't notice anything. The people next to Han Mai couldn't understand what Han Mai was thinking. Many people know that Feng Hua is suppressing Zhenxing. There is never a shortage of people who curry favor with the powerful. Soon, someone in the room started talking in order to please Han Mai. Mr. Wang is truly a kind-hearted person. He initiated this grand charity event. I wonder how much money he is prepared to donate. To revive such a large company, at least 20 million yuan must be donated. Only 20 million, that's too much of an insult to Mr. Wang. In my opinion, Mr. Wang will donate at least 50 million. No, 50 million is still not enough. We need to donate at least 100 million to be impressive enough. Wang Zhenxing smiled at these remarks, and then said calmly. Zhenxing is just a small workshop that produces daily chemicals. It cannot compare to the bosses present here. I will follow you in donating. If you donate 100 million, I will do it even if I have to empty Zhenxing's cash flow, or even at my own pocket. It's all for charity. Good deeds can accumulate virtue. How many people who can make a lot of money have not violated their conscience? They have done a lot of immoral things. After these words were spoken, those who were trying to squeeze the bank stopped talking. Han Mai felt sad when she heard Wang Zhenxing say this. Her fortune and abilities contributed greatly to her becoming the richest person in Qingling, but she also used some not-so-glorious business practices. If there is such a thing as retribution, then she will definitely not be able to escape it. The richer a person is, the more he believes in the theory of cause and effect. In order to gain peace of mind, many bad people like to chant scriptures and worship Buddha. Han Mai believes in these things more. When she was a teenager, the fortune teller accurately predicted her future fortune. She couldn't help but believe this. My luck is fading now. If I continue to suppress Zhenxing, will there really be retribution? Han Mai suddenly had the idea of giving up suppressing Zhenxing group. Wang Zhenxing has been committed to charity over the years and is a very kind person. Will I be punished for targeting such a kind person? In fact, she had no hatred against Wang Zhenxing. The reason why she suppressed Zhenxing group was just because she indulged her son Han Jie. But what gives Han Mai a headache is that the Zhenxing group has been suppressed in recent years. It is probably not so easy to make friends with Wang Zhenxing. After all, Wang Zhenxing seemed to be an upright man who hated evil. Chapter 20 For falling into the water. Han Mai never showed her emotions. Wang Zhenxing certainly had no idea what she was thinking. Wang Zhenxing was curious at the moment whether he had charmed Han Mai. He looked at Han Mai, trying to see through her thoughts. But Han Mai concealed her emotions so well that nothing could be seen. It seems that dressing up carefully is of no use to this woman. Wang Zhenxing was secretly a little disappointed. At this moment, Han Mai suddenly spoke up. This charity summit is a great act of kindness. In fact, no matter how much or how little you donate, it is a token of your kindness. When the people around heard this, they were suddenly a little surprised and confused. Because Han Mai's words seemed to imply that she was trying to help Wang Zhenxing out of the predicament. Isn't Tifeng was suppressing Zhenxing? Han Mai didn't just put Wang Zhenxing in a difficult position, but instead helped him out. What on earth is this woman planning? Wang Zhenxing was a little confused about Han Mai's thoughts. Mr. Wang, I've heard of your name a long time ago. Nice to meet you. Han Mai smiled faintly and stretched out her fair hand. Wang Zhenxing subconsciously glanced at Han Mai's hand and saw that she didn't have long nails and didn't wear nail polish, but her fingers were long and delicate, and looked very beautiful. What's the big name? Mr. Han thinks highly of me. Wang Zhenxing stretched out his hand and shook hands with him. He thought Han Mai was just being polite in front of others, but when shaking hands, he clearly felt that Han Mai's hand trembled slightly. This surprised Wang Zhenxing a little. For a person like Han Mai, it's just a handshake, so she shouldn't be nervous, right? Wang Zhenxing was a little confused and could only think that this was Han Mai's accidental reaction. After shaking hands, Han Mai quickly passed by Wang Zhenxing and went to greet the government officials. Most of the people around were looking at Han Mai. With Wang Zhenxing's wealth, he is not very noticeable here and not many people pay attention to him. He raised his hand to check the time on his gold watch. There are about 15 minutes left before the meeting starts. Wang Zhenxing knew he had to find an opportunity. Han Mai is a woman who never shows her emotions and is very hard to guess. Although Han Mai showed goodwill just now, Wang Zhenxing felt that this woman might be paralyzing herself. Wait until you relax, then suddenly stab yourself with a knife. There are countless people like this in the business world. Wang Zhenxing walked casually on the deck with a glass of wine in his hand, then came to the railing, pretended to look at the night view of the shore for a while, and then pretended to accidentally fall from the railing. There was a plop sound. What's that sound? Some people heard the noise, leaned over the railing, pulled their heads out to look, and saw someone floundering on the water. Someone fell into the water. Someone in the field shouted. The people who were socializing around immediately stopped talking and came to the railing to check the situation. Including Han Mai. Who is that? Who fell into the water? It was dark at night and everyone could only see someone struggling on the water but couldn't tell who that person was. But judging from the way that person was struggling, it was obvious that he couldn't swim. It's Mr. Wang from Zhenxing Group, said an eyewitness at the scene. Where's the lifeguard? Where's the lifeguard? Han Mai asked the people around her. After hearing this, some people immediately went to the cruise ship to spread the message. On the water. Wang Zhenxing pretended to struggle for a while, and when he felt it was about time, he slowly sank. As a time traveler, he has some basic skills. Swimming is one of them. And Wang Zhenxing is set in the plot as someone who cannot swim. This is Wang Zhenxing's plan. No one here knew he could swim. He pretended to fall into the water, then lost consciousness and lay in the hospital for some time. With advanced medical skills, it is very easy to pretend to be sick without worrying about being seen through. As to whether there would be any danger, Wang Zhenxing had thought about this question. First of all, there are no sharks or man-eating fish in this river. Therefore, there is no possibility of being eaten by fish. In addition, his luck value is as high as over 300, which is very high compared to ordinary people. With such high luck, it wouldn't be easy for anything to happen to you. Therefore, this plan has a high probability of success. As long as we can avoid the charity summit, everything will be easy. No movement. People watching at the railing saw the water gradually calm down. The lifeguard hadn't arrived yet. There are some people around who can swim, but they are not professionals. If they rush to rescue people rashly, they may put themselves in danger. Everyone here is either rich or noble, who would take such a risk. Swish. The sound of a zipper sliding was heard, and a gorgeous evening dress fell to the ground. But suddenly Han Mai stepped forward. Han Mai had clothes on under her evening gown, exposing her arms and thighs. Although it was a bit disrespectful in such an occasion, she didn't care. With a plop, Han Mai jumped directly into the water. There was someone holding a spotlight by the railing providing light. Han Mai sank into the water, looked around, and finally saw Wang Zhenxing slowly sinking, then swam towards him. Wang Zhenxing noticed that someone jumped into the water, so he pretended to struggle in the water, but he did not expect that the person who jumped into the water to save people would be Han Mai. While he was distracted, Han Mai had already swam to his side. In order to show that he couldn't swim, Wang Zhenxing was flapping his hands around. But unexpectedly, I accidentally touched something that I shouldn't have touched. She is no less ferocious than Xu Yuru. This is Wang Zhenxing's evaluation. And after this comment, he gradually stopped flopping around and pretended to faint. Seeing this, Han Mai felt somewhat relieved. The most feared thing in underwater rescue is the person who falls into the water struggling wildly, which will increase the difficulty of rescue. Now that Wang Zhenxing has fainted, it will be easier to rescue him. Han Mai grabbed one of his arms and dragged him upwards. However, as Wang Zhenxing was a tall and strong man, it was still a bit difficult for him to drag the child. Han Mai swims slowly. In order to prevent Wang Zhenxing from being completely suffocated, Han Mai could only give him some comfort. Wang Zhenxing, who was pretending to be fainted, was stunned when he noticed the movement near his mouth. There's something wrong with this woman. She was clearly suppressing my company, so why is she risking her life to save me? Han Mai is kind-hearted. Han Jie is definitely a villain. As Han Jie's mother, Han Mai must also be a villain. To say that he saved people out of kindness is absolutely impossible. If it's not because of kindness, then it's because of special feelings. Villain Han Mai's favorability towards the host increases to 60 admiration, the host influences the direction of the plot, and gains 300 counterattack points. Wang Zhenxing soon received a prompt message, which made him a little confused. This was just the first time he met Han Mai today. It seems that Han Mai fell in love with him at first sight. It's just that Han Mai was good at hiding her emotions and didn't let anyone see any clues. Looks like my luck with romance has arrived. Wang Zhenxing quickly figured out the reason. The level of his fortune is currently only elementary, so it doesn't have that much impact on the heroine, but it seems to have a great impact on other female supporting characters or female villains. I originally just wanted to pretend to be sick by falling into the water, but I didn't expect to get an unexpected reward. Chapter 25. There's something wrong with him. Although Han Mai was a good swimmer, she gradually became unable to hold on after holding her breath for a long time and dragging someone with her. Fortunately, the lifeguard finally arrived at this time. With the help of lifeguards, Wang Zhenxing was quickly lifted onto an inflatable boat. Wang Zhenxing continued to pretend to be unconscious. Han Mai checked his breath and found that he was dead. Without caring about the people around, she immediately performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation on him. Wang Zhenxing's shirt was taken off, revealing his perfect muscle lines. Han Mai's eyes lit up. But at this critical moment, there is no time to continue appreciating it. As a strong woman, Han Mai likes sports and has many basic skills. Swimming and CPR are just two of them. After Wang Zhenxing performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation several times, he was finally heard coughing and spitting out some river water. Coincidentally, it happened when Han Mai was performing artificial respiration. Han Mai was caught off guard and passively drank a lot of river water, but she didn't care. "Hey, wake up!" Han Mai called out, but received no response. Wang Zhenxing is still in a coma, but his breathing has returned to normal and he should not be in danger of death. After a while, Wang Zhenxing carried the body into a car and sent it to a nearby large hospital. The storm is over for the time being. The charity summit was held as scheduled. Although Wang Zhenxing, as the main initiator, was absent, it did not have much impact. The next day. Central building. You're awake and out of danger, right? Okay, I understand. Han Mai received a phone call in the office and felt much more at ease. After ending the call, she wanted to get back to work immediately. Ever since what happened yesterday, she has been very worried about Wang Zhenxing's condition, but given her status, it is not convenient for her to stay in the hospital. She was a little absent-minded while working today. Now I don't have to worry anymore. However, when Han Mai wanted to focus on her work, she would always get distracted from time to time and think of some scenes from yesterday. As I thought about it, I couldn't help biting my lip. I was so focused on saving people yesterday that I didn't pay much attention when I was breathing underwater and performing artificial respiration on shore. But today, whenever she thought about it, her face turned red and her heart started beating fast. Han Mai tried to force herself to calm down, but found that it didn't work. It's almost noon and time to get off work. Han Mai was not hungry at all and planned to go to the lounge to adjust herself before going to eat. But at this moment, his son Han Jie came to the office angrily. "Didn't I teach you to knock before entering the office?" Han Mai scolded coldly. Han Jie ignored his mother's cold rebuke and questioned with gritted teeth, "Mom, didn't you promise me that you would stir up trouble during the charity summit and make Wang Zhenxing donate more money? Why did you go back on your word? Hearing her son mention this, Han Mai felt a little guilty, and the coldness on her face faded a little. She explained calmly, Wang Zhenxing accidentally fell into the water and fainted. He was sent to the hospital and did not attend the meeting. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. Mom, why did you save that guy Wang Zhenxing? If he falls into the water, just let him drown. Wouldn't that be better? Han Jie asked. Han Mai was stunned. In order to avoid any impact on the incident of Wang Zhenxing falling into the water, the organizers of the charity summit asked the media present to keep the matter secret and not make it public. But there were so many people present at the time that, although it didn't make the news, I'm sure some news got out. Han Jie seemed to have heard some rumors. This matter is complicated. In short, it was not my intention to save Wang Zhenxing. Han Mai lied. Mom, is this really true? I heard that you were giving him artificial respiration. Han Jie questioned. Where did you hear that? Han Mai was surprised. I didn't hear it, I saw it. A friend of mine sent me a photo. The picture showed you giving artificial respiration to Wang Zhenxing. Han Jie said, and took out his mobile phone to show the photo to Han Mai. The facts were before her eyes and Han Mai had no way to refute them. Mom, are you attracted to that Wang Zhenxing? Han Jie asked nervously. His father died early and he lacked fatherly love. It was really not easy for his mother Han Mai to manage such a business empire alone. Han Jie is still somewhat filial. He knows that he is not capable of managing the company, so he hopes that someone can share the burden with Han Mai. But Wang Zhenxing and Qin Yi are in the same group. Friends of the enemy are naturally enemies. Han Jie doesn't want Wang Zhenxing to be his stepfather. What nonsense are you talking about? Han Mai became angry when her son hit the nail on the head. Mom, you know whether it's nonsense or not, but there is one thing I want to remind you of. Han Jie said. What do you want to say? Han Mai asked in confusion. Wang Zhenxing is almost 40 years old and has never been married. He doesn't have a girlfriend, and I've never heard of him having a lover. He never goes to entertainment venues. How can there be a man in this world who is not interested in women? If there is, it only means that this person has problems in that aspect. Han Jie said. Han Mai thought it was ridiculous when she first heard it, but then she thought about it more carefully and found it terrifying. It's understandable that Wang Zhenxing doesn't want to get married given his good conditions, but it's indeed a bit strange that he doesn't have a woman. Han Mai had been widowed for many years, but she did not find another husband because she was a germaphobe, had high demands on herself, and cared a lot about her reputation. A lock that can be opened by many keys is called a bad lock. Han Mai wants to be a good lock. But for Wang Zhenxing, a key that can open many locks can be called a master key. So, there is no reputation issue. After all, in social opinion, it is not something shameful for a rich man to have more girlfriends. Is Wang Zhenxing really ill? Han Mai became suspicious. But this is just speculation after all. If you want to know the truth, you can only find an opportunity to verify it. Mom, believe me. As a man, I have a say. There is definitely something wrong with Wang Zhenxing. I can guarantee it. Seeing that his mother remained silent for a long time, Han Jie added another sentence. Do you think everyone is like you, who likes to spend money and have fun? Han Mai asked back. If a man doesn't live a life of debauchery, what's the point of living in this world? Han Jie laughed. Be serious. You're getting married in a few days. I don't care what happens to you in the future, but you should at least behave yourself for the next month. Otherwise, you won't be able to get more than 1 million pocket money from me every month. Han Mai warned. Mom, if I don't even have 1 million a month, how can I live? Han Jie complained. I'm not kidding you. Han Mai said. Actually, I don't want to get married. If I didn't feel great about stealing Qin Yi's girlfriend, I would have dumped that woman long ago. Han Jie looked indifferent. The wedding date has been set, and the invitations have been sent out. I don't care whether you want it or not, this wedding must take place. Got it, Mom. It's okay, you can go now. Remember to knock before entering my office next time. Chapter 26 Make a Friend. Qingling First Hospital. Wang Zhenxing, lying on the hospital bed, opened his mobile phone and took a look. My phone was soaked in water after falling into the water yesterday. Fortunately, this phone is waterproof and there are no malfunctions, so it can still be used normally. There are many missed calls on the phone. The most common calls were from Shuyuru. After being a vegetarian for so many years, if I suddenly broke the rules and ate meat, it would be more painful than death to go back to being a vegetarian. Shuyuru saw that Wang Zhenxing was silent last night, so she took the initiative to call him. But no one answered the phone. Shuyuru initially thought that Wang Zhenxing was busy with something, but after that she called him every once in a while, but no one answered. This made her very anxious. In addition to the call from Shuyuru, there was also a call from Lin Keqing. Lin Keqing called in the morning. It was obvious that Lin Keqing called to ask questions because she saw that her boss didn't come to work. The remaining few calls were from business partners and friends. Wang Zhenxing only called Shuyuru back. I was busy yesterday and couldn't answer the phone. What do you want to talk to me about? Is there something urgent? After the call was connected, Wang Zhenxing pretended not to understand Shuyuru's thoughts and asked. No, I'm just a little bored and wanted to call you to chat. Shuyuru said reservedly. It's so inconvenient to talk on the phone, wouldn't it be better to talk face to face? Wang Zhenxing said with a smile. Qin Yi was about to return to Qingling, so before he came back, of course he had to keep in touch with Shuyuru. What do you want to eat tonight? Shuyuru was overjoyed and asked quickly. A little more, or I'm afraid I can't bear it. You are so bad. You made fun of me. I won't talk to you anymore. Shuyuru hung up the phone with a blushing face and a pounding heart, and went out to buy groceries in high spirits. Wang Zhenxing opened WeChat again and looked at the message. Phone Qianqian sent a few messages. The content was, of course, that the new cosplay costumes she bought online had arrived, and she wanted Wang Zhenxing to see them in person and give her some advice. I'm not free today. I'll tell you when I'm free. Wang Zhenxing decided to give him a good criticism, but he really was not free today, so he had to do it another day. After sending the message, a doctor came soon. The doctor said that Wang Zhenxing's test results were normal and he could be discharged from the hospital at any time. Wang Zhenxing was not surprised at all. His original plan was to use his medical skills to fake his poor health, then stay in the hospital for a while to avoid the turmoil at the charity summit, but after learning that Han Mai was hypocritical, he gave up the idea. So, I went through the examination as normal. He was in good health, so it was only natural that he was discharged from the hospital after the examination. Wang Zhenxing called the driver to send a new set of clothes and then waited in the hospital. After about half an hour, the driver arrived. Wang Zhenxing changed his clothes and was discharged from the hospital. However, just as I left the hospital building, my cell phone suddenly rang. The call was from an unfamiliar number. Wang Zhenxing paused, then answered the phone. Mr. Wang, can we chat? A cold yet somewhat charming female voice came from the phone. Who are you? Wang Zhenxing recognized Han Mai's voice but pretended not to. Han Mai. It's Mr. Han. What can I do for you? Wang Zhenxing asked in a tone that was neither cold nor enthusiastic. My car is parked outside the entrance of the first hospital. You will see it when you come out. Han Mai said. Wang Zhenxing narrowed his eyes. Han Mai obviously knew that she would be discharged from the hospital, so she came here early. It was premeditated. What were you trying to do? Wang Zhenxing asked his driver to wait in the car first, and walked out of the hospital gate. Then he looked around and saw a dazzling extended version of Rolls-Royce. He walked towards the Rolls-Royce. A middle-aged female driver saw Wang Zhenxing coming and politely invited him into the car. The extended version of the Rolls-Royce is very spacious, no less than a small room, and the interior is luxurious, especially the starry sky ceiling, which is inlaid with real diamonds and shines brightly. Wang Zhenxing was very moved after taking a glance at it. He also wanted to own such an extended version of the ultra-luxury business car. After looking at the interior, he turned his gaze to Han Mai. Han Mai sat on a luxurious table and chair, with her legs slightly crossed and one high-heeled shoe half hanging on her small feet wrapped in high heel. The places where it is growing are growing, and the places where it is huge are huge. Her overall outfit makes her look not like the usual cold and arrogant female billionaire, but more like a beautiful lady in the city, and a somewhat frivolous one at that. It is completely different from Han Mai's usual attire at work. Moreover, the way Han Mai looked at herself was somewhat similar to the way Shuyuru looked at herself. Simply put, this is a look that wants to eat someone. But Han Mai is indeed a very charming woman. Even though she is almost 40 years old. It's not convenient to talk here, let's go to another place. Han Mai said. The Rolls-Royce started and came to a remote road. The female driver got out of the car and closed the door. Only Han Mai and Wang Zhenxing were left in the car. This extended version of Rolls-Royce is customized, and the sound insulation effect is needless to say. No matter what is said in the car, no one outside can hear it. Just say it if you have something to say. Wang Zhenxing pretended not to know her intention and said in a cold tone. I saved you after all, there's no need to have this attitude. Han Mai frowned slightly. There are only two of us here now, so there's no need for polite words. You've been suppressing my company behind the scenes, and I should be polite to you? Wait, you said, it was you who saved me. Wang Zhenxing pretended to be confused. The situation underwater was chaotic at the time, and I pretended to be unconscious later. I was not fully awake until today. It was a normal reaction for him to not know who saved him. If you don't believe it, you can go ask the people who attended the meeting yesterday. Han Mai said. Wang Zhenxing pretended to be skeptical, then took out his cell phone and called a friend. After questioning, it was confirmed that Han Mai was the first to jump into the water to save people yesterday. Why are you doing this? Wang Zhenxing suppressed the coldness on his face, pretending not to know the reason, and asked Han Mai. Actually, I only found out about the suppression of your company recently. It was all done by my son and has nothing to do with me. Han Mai looked sincere. Is your son so capable that he can control several companies behind the scenes and do such a thing without telling you? Wang Zhenxing questioned. Han Mai said slowly, I only have this one son, and I was a little too indulgent, but this was definitely not my intention. If I had known earlier, I would never have indulged him in such a reckless behavior, because I really admire Mr. Wang's character. After all, it's hard for ordinary businessmen to spend so much money on charity. Of course, I know it's hard to get your understanding if I say this. So after you fainted yesterday, I donated an extra 100 million as charity funds in your name. Just consider it as me apologizing to you, Mr. Wang. After listening to this, Wang Zhenxing said directly, there is absolutely no free lunch in this world. Everyone is very busy. Tell me the reason why you do this. It's simple. I just want to make friends with you, Mr. Wang. Han Mai smiled slightly, her lips curled up with expensive lipstick on them. Chapter 27 Hunter-Prey. Wang Zhenxing pretended not to understand the deeper meaning of Han Mai's words. He snorted and said, You've gone to so much trouble just to make friends with me? How is that possible? Just tell me your purpose. Seeing his reaction, Han Mai became secretly anxious. Is this person really that stubborn? Even after I've said this, how come he still doesn't understand what I mean? Does he have to point it out to me before he understands what I mean? I really just want to be friends with you, there's nothing else I mean. As a woman, Han Mai still had some dignity to show for herself. She didn't say it directly, but hoped that Wang Zhenxing could understand. We are not the same kind of people, so I'm afraid we can't be friends. Wang Zhenxing said. Han Mai secretly had a headache. Was this person a stubborn person? Why couldn't he understand the deeper meaning of her words? Is Han Mai lacking friends? What she lacks is. Could it be that Wang Zhenxing really has problems in that area as his son said? Han Mai made a guess and wanted to verify it. If there really is something wrong with Wang Zhenxing, then she'd better give up on this idea as soon as possible. After thinking for a while, Han Mai chuckled and said, Well, if we are not friends, then the 100 million that I donated in your name, Mr. Wang, will have to be paid for by Mr. Wang himself. When chatting at that time, Wang Zhenxing did casually say that everyone should donate 100 million yuan, and many people heard it. Unexpectedly, Han Mai actually donated 100 million yuan in Wang Zhenxing's name while he was being sent to the hospital. Although the market value of Zhenxing Group is 1 billion, the liquid funds that Wang Zhenxing can take out are at most 100 million. But the consequence of doing so is that Zhenxing Group's capital chain will be in trouble and the company will fall into crisis. Han Mai's proposal to make friends with Wang Zhenxing failed, so she used this as a threat. However, the prerequisite for this threat to succeed is that Wang Zhenxing is an upright person. If Wang Zhenxing has no shame, he can just deny it. Because as long as he has no morals, he will not be kidnapped by morality. You vicious woman, you deliberately hurt me. Wang Zhenxing pointed at Han Mai angrily, his chest heaving. You look very angry, but what can you do to me? I'm right in front of you, how dare you do anything to me? Han Mai sneered, deliberately provoking him. Of course Wang Zhenxing saw that she was deliberately provoking him, so he stood up from his seat and grabbed her arm and pretending to be angry. Seeing Wang Zhenxing's actions, Han Mai was not surprised but happy. On the surface, she said with contempt, "You have not been married for many years and have never found a girlfriend. I think it is not because you are too busy with work, but because there is a problem in that area. So let go of my hand, you can't do anything to me." After hearing this, Wang Zhenxing finally understood something. Han Mai deliberately angered herself. It turned out that she wanted to verify whether he had a problem. After figuring this out, Wang Zhenxing certainly wanted to prove himself. But on second thought, it would be too boring if Han Mai succeeded so easily. The more you can't get something, the more precious it is. Wang Zhenxing is not a casual person. At the very least, we can't be casual now. After all, I still have to go to Xu Yuru's house for dinner in the evening. Qin Yi's return is imminent, and Wang Zhenxing certainly wants to perform better in front of Xu Yuru, so that he can occupy a more important position in Xu Yuru's heart. However, although it cannot be completely proven, at least Han Mai must know that Wang Zhenxing is a normal person and there is absolutely nothing wrong with him. "I'm fine, what you said is ridiculous," Wang Zhenxing said to Han Mai. "Oh, useless man." Han Mai certainly couldn't believe Wang Zhenxing just by a few words, so she continued to mock him. "Don't push me. So what if I force you? Do you dare?" "Oh, no, it's not that you don't dare, it's that you can't, har har. You." Wang Zhenxing became angry and wanted to prove something, but at the critical moment, he suddenly braked. "You bad woman, you must have hidden a camera in the dark, right? Then tell me afterwards, I won't be fooled by you." Wang Zhenxing had an expression as if he had seen through all the conspiracies. He sneered, got out of the car, and called the driver to pick him up. Han Mai's emotions were a little mixed at the moment. However, it did not stop Wang Zhenxing from leaving. Because her hands had already given her the answer she was hoping for. Han Mai was very satisfied with this answer, and was overjoyed. Wang Zhenxing is simply the legendary man with 180 centimeters heights. No, to be more precise, Wang Zhenxing exceeded the standard. Take Wang Zhenxing's house for example, it is definitely more than 180 square meters. After a while, Wang Zhenxing was picked up by the driver. "You can't escape from my grasp." Han Mai sat in the car watching the Bentley go away, a smile on her red lips, like a hunter watching her prey. If Wang Zhenxing knew what Han Mai was thinking at this moment, he would definitely find it very funny. Good hunters often appear as prey. Are the identities of hunter and prey really what Han Mai thinks? In the evening, Wang Zhenxing drove his Bentley to Xu Yuru's house alone. Xu Yuru is cooking. Wang Zhenxing was a little irritated today, and was not very patient while waiting for dinner. "There are 2 more dishes. We can start eating as soon as I finish cooking. You go to the dining room and wait. There is smoke here." Xu Yuru smiled with a gentle look on her face. Wang Zhenxing felt that the fumes were a bit choking. "This range hood has been used for too long. I'll ask someone to replace it tomorrow. It will cost tens of thousands of yuan. Replacing a range hood worth tens of thousands of dollars is too extravagant. There's no need to spend so much money." Xu Yuru felt sorry for him. "It will get old if it's exposed to too much oil smoke. Are you sure you don't want to change it?" Wang Zhenxing asked. Xu Yuru was startled when she heard the word old. At her age, she is indeed afraid of this. Although she looks beautiful now, what about in a few years? "Then I'll listen to you." Xu Yuru agreed, and then said, "Go out and wait. You go ahead and do your thing. I'll just watch here." "Don't worry about me," said Wang Zhenxing. "What's interesting in the kitchen?" Xu Yuru asked with a smile. "Yes, you." Wang Zhenxing looked at her. Xu Yuru blushed instantly. "The kitchen is a place for cooking. The host is really immoral. Villain aura points plus 20. Is this possible?" After receiving the news, Wang Zhenxing was surprised and happy, feeling that he had found a new way to earn villain halo points. Not counting the 20 points added now, the previous villain aura points were 166. When Wang Zhenxing faced Han Mai before, his aura and momentum were slightly inferior. He knew that Han Mai's villain aura points were not low, at least not lower than 166. Therefore, his villain aura could not intimidate or suppress Han Mai at all, and was even slightly suppressed by Han Mai's aura. I must increase the value of the villain's aura, so that I can be in a more advantageous position in the contest with Han Mai. Wang Zhenxing thought.